The Richmond 400 is brought to you by the heartbeat of America, Today Chevrolet, and by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. And by Coors, the first draft beer in bottles and cans. Coors, the original. And by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
Well, the season opening hype and hyperbole are all behind us. The Daytona 500 is in the history books. Today, we begin the battle for the Winston Cup Stock Car Championship. Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Despain. TBS Sports is live at Frigid Fairgrounds Raceway, Richmond, Virginia, awaiting the start of what may be the coldest Winston Cup Stock Car race in history. Predicted high today, 40 degrees. It is an historic afternoon, the last race on this tired old half-mile oval, soon to be replaced by a state-of-the-art three-quarter-mile facility. But the big story here today, not the weather, not the history, it is the championship. And here's why. For all the talk about the Daytona 500, the man who wins that race rarely goes on to the championship. It hasn't happened for 10 years. But 3 of the last 7 Richmond 400 winners have indeed gone on to the most prestigious crown in American motorsports, the championship of Winston Cup Racing. This is the kingmaker of American stock car races, and that's why those drivers out there at the line are ready to push, shove, beat, bang, bend fenders, do whatever it takes to win this race. You're going to see quite a show here today, and coincidentally, one of those trio, one member of the trio who actually started their championship quest here in Richmond is also the new 500 winner. That's Bobby Allison, and he's with the man who broadcast his first race from here back when this track was dirt, Chris Economaki.
Bobby, 7 times you've won here at Richmond, and this is the last race on this half-mile track. But the question I have is this Buick, this new Buick, going to be as good here as it was for you at Daytona?
Well, Chris, we didn't start out very good. Our qualifying was very poor, but there is a Buick on the pole, so I think a Buick can do good here, but we've got a lot of catching up to do. We're behind right now.
You going for the championship?
Yeah, we're going to go for it every race and just do the best we can, and we'd love to have that championship again.
All the best to you, Bobby. Now let's go down pit road to Mark Allen.
And with Davey Allison, he hasn't got a short track victory yet, and he had a little bit of trouble yesterday in practice. Backed it into the wall. The damage was mostly cosmetic. The car repaired. Davey went out and qualified 5 positions better this year than he did last year at this race. And the question, Davey, is what did you learn from that practice crash?
Well, I learned that you got to be really careful what you do here at Richmond. This racetrack is kind of leads you into the corner faster than you can go, and we just let the car get away from us and backed in the wall. Luckily, it didn't do much damage. It was just cosmetic, and went back out and qualified pretty well.
What are you going to try to be doing out there in the first 100 laps today?
We just want to feel everything out under race conditions and make adjustments to the car as we go along and try to do the best we can with this Haviland Star Thunderbird today. We feel like we've got a real good shot at this race.
Davey Allison starting 16th. Dave?
Bobby and Davey Allison, the father-son team who were the story at Daytona last week. They both got to come through the field here today. We'll follow that from the STP Pit Communication Center. Right now, we're going to meet the TBS broadcast team that will call the shots in this race. And let's go now to the man who will have the play-by-play for you this afternoon, Ken Squire.
Well, thank you, David. What a grand way to close out after 36 years this old car buster fairgrounds. The entire field, 30 cars, has qualified within 1/2 second of each other for this event. The man that finished dead last, the Daytona 500 last Sunday, Morgan Shepherd, he's on the pole. And the man that sat on the pole at 193 miles an hour at Daytona last week, he had to buy a provisional berth into this starting field. That's just how tough the competition's going to be today in this 400 lapper. A great car enthusiast, car owner, Johnny Hayes. Old Gabby's with us once again. What about it today? What's the story?
Well, Ken, I had breakfast with Harry Gant this morning, and he told me that it's going to be tar wars out there today. And I said, tar wars? He said, yeah, tar wars. I said, what are tar wars? He said, between Goodyear and Hoosier. So I think tires are going to play an important role today.
Well, indeed they are, because for the first time since 1978, when J.D. McDuffie put a car other than Goodyear shot on the pole, that car up in front, Morgan Shepherd, has Hoosier tires, and 13 other cars do as well. It's going to be a rip-snorting race, John.
Well, we came from Daytona, and everybody had restrictor plates. Everybody stayed in line, tried to be as safe as possible. But when it comes to Richmond, this is a bully's racetrack. You got to knock people out of the way. You got to intimidate. So everybody's going to have a good show today.
No, just staying in line like they did in Daytona.
Push and shove, Dick Butkus in your face racing.
Let's go down to Chris Economack. He's standing by on pit road.
I'm with the pole sitter, Morgan Shepherd. Morgan, everybody says it's cold weather and the track is dirty. What are the early laps going to be like in this race today?
Well, they're going to be pretty treacherous today because we do have a lot of mud where the cars have crossed the track over on turn 3, and everybody's going to have to really watch it, Chrissy.
We want to wish you well in this Buick.
Thank you.
Now down again to Mark Allen.
Dale Earnhardt qualified 4/100ths of a second slower. Dale, you dominated the last 200 laps last time here. What do you think your possibilities are of doing the same today?
Well, it's going to be a good race. You know, this is the same car we had last year. It's a good race car, so we'll be in good shape.
Dale Earnhardt won both races here last year. Ken?
The story truly today is Richard Petty. After that terrible incident a week ago, you can see the crowd that's amassing around car number 43 as Petty gets ready to climb in that car and prepare for this battle. Richard Petty one time said, listen, I can't even tell you exactly what my greatest thrill has been. The first race I drove, the first race I saw, the first race I won, or the 200th time I won. Racing's a thrill to me, every bit of it. And when the fun and excitement begin to lean toward boredom or worse yet, work, then I'll walk away from it. But I'm not turning myself out to pasture just yet. I promise. And today, he continues to fulfill that promise after that terrible wreck just a week ago. Let's go quickly to Bob Varsha, who's standing by up in turn 4 of this half-mile facility.
I am indeed in turn 4, and behind me, some of the of new grandstand seats that have been built racing in the 19. The only part of this old half-mile, a new 3/4 mile Richmond facility that you'll be seeing later this year here on TBS. And it's been a troublesome corner over the years. 13 pilots this race. Bob Allison has been over this old thing. Richard Petty and Bill Elliott have to it. And I've got a feeling that in the next 3 hours, my wanderings around this old half-mile racetrack are going to bring me right back here to turn 4 for some moments in today's Richmond 400. Now back to Dave Despain.
At least twice during the afternoon, while Bob will be wandering back here for our Goodyear Racing updates, when we'll tell you what's going on elsewhere in the world of racing. The focus here in this $1/3 race, big money, and we're going to be adding to the payoff down here. One thing we'll do is keep track of the fastest laps in the race on our Timex Speed Track computer. The members of the pit crew of the driver who turns the fastest lap in the race will each get their own Timex Speed Track. We'll be watching for great performances outside the limelight, and we have $1,700 worth of Mac Tools for the best of those performances, our Mac Tools Behind the Scenes Award. And, of course, the True Value Hardware people have $5,000 on the line at every Winston Cup race for the True Value Hard Charger. Bobby Allison leading in those standings after the Daytona 500. Down on pit road, the drivers are saddling up, buckling themselves in. We'll be back for the starting lineup for the Richmond 400 right after this. The engines have just fired here in Richmond, Virginia, where the first race was run on this old fairgrounds track 40 years ago. 35 years ago, NASCAR came here for the first Richmond race in what is now the Winston Cup division. Lee Petty won that race. And over the next 3 decades, Lee's son, Richard, number 43, became the undisputed king of Richmond. He's won 13 races here, 4 on the dirt, 9 more after they paved the place. Today, we will see the last race on this old track, soon to be replaced by a state-of-the-art 3/4 mile oval. When we come back here for the September race, it'll be at an all-new speed plant that will seat 90,000 fans. So today, these drivers have one last chance to whip the old fairgrounds half mile, and the old guy who's going to tell us how they'll line up for that last shot here with the starting lineup for the Richmond 400 is Ken Squire.
From the cradle of the Confederacy, here's the starting lineup for the Richmond 400. On the pole, Morgan Shepherd for the 5th time in his career, and the 2-time winner of the event, Dale Earnhardt. In row 2, it'll be Neil Bonnet, 4th place at Daytona last week, and Rusty Wallace. For row 3, from Greenfield, Wisconsin, Alan Kowicki and the Bandit, Harry Gant. Going to row 4, from Batesville, Arkansas, with the Roush Ford, it's Mark Martin and Jeff Bodine. And in row 5, the 5-time winner of this race from Randall, North Carolina, Richard Petty and Terry Labonte. In row 6, the 1980 champion, carrying one of our onboard cameras today from Franklin, Tennessee. It'll be Darrell Waltrip in car number 17. And there you see Darrell ready to go to work. Beside Darrell is Benny Parsons, the 1978 winner in car number 90, the Don Levy car out of Virginia. Then in the 13th starting position in row 7, Kenny Bouchard, big surprise, his Chevrolet out of Pittsburgh, Massachusetts, and Sterling Marlin as the field rolls away in the preliminary laps. In row 8, it's Davey Allison of Hueytown, Alabama, 2nd place to his dad last week in the Daytona 500, and the awesome one, Bill Elliott of Dawsonville, Georgia. Going to row 9, Phil Parsons, carrying our 2nd onboard camera, is there in car number 55 out of Denver, North Carolina, and alongside from Jackson, Mississippi, Lake Speed. Row 10, from Chemung, New York, Brett Bodine is ready for business. And beside him, from Midland, Texas, Bobby Hillen Jr. In row 11 this afternoon, from Spanaway, Washington, Derek Cope, and from Chesapeake, Virginia, Ricky Rudd. For row 12, it's Brad Teague of Johnson City, Tennessee, and the King, or rather the King's son, Kyle Petty of Randall, North Carolina. Then in row 13, Bobby Allison, Hueytown, Alabama's great champion of this event on 3 occasions, and Michael Waltrip of Owensboro, Kentucky. In the 14th row, it'll be Buddy Baker and Dave Marcus, the winner of this race on 2 occasions in 82 and 76. Then in row 15, Jimmy Smut Means of Huntsville, Alabama, in the Eureka Pontiac, and Dale Jarrett. In the last row, the 16th row, the provisional starters, Ken Schrader and Lenny Pond start out back. Schrader is driving the number 67. That was the Buddy Arrington car, and then Lenny Pond. There's been a slight switch in the background. Dale Jarrett has moved up into 30th position. And 31st is Schrader as they now roll the track with the 32nd position, Lenny Pond. Schrader buying the Arrington ride after he failed to qualify for the event.
Well, I think the key thing there is Kenny Schrader needs the points. He's running for the championship. Any way he can get a chance to get in the race, he had to pay.
Now there you see the temperature, John, at 39 degrees. It's about as frisky as it was a year ago. There you see Bobby Allison's car number 12, which came out a bit tardy. It's behind the field as they complete the first of the preliminary laps. Sold out again today. We were sold out at over 130,000 in Daytona. 32,000 fill up the Richmond Fairgrounds on the half mile as we get ready for business this afternoon. Allison pulling for his spot. Lenny Pond starting out back for the first time since '85. 8 Chevrolets, 9 Fords, 4 Buicks, 5 Pontiacs, 6 Oldsmobiles, the field, 8 previous winners, and the qualifying record set by Morgan Shepherd did not break the record of 1985 by Darrell Waltrip at 95.2 miles an hour. That goes to the record book forever as we bring you live the last race to ever be run at one of the toughest tracks in the history of Winston Cup racing. Well, there you see what they're going to be appearing on today. It's narrow. The drivers are not going to be disappointed that this track is closing the curtain today. They don't like this place.
Well, it's claimed a lot of race cars. You can notice, and you can hear by the sound, it sounds like the race is going on. What they're doing is trying to heat these motors up, and they're running the caution laps at high speed so that we won't have engine problems later on. They'll slow down a little bit, and we'll get a good clean start.
Every man here has at one time or another, if he's had more than 2 years at this track, tasted those walls. There's Phil Parsons. We were with him a couple of years ago on this track when he socked the wall in turn number 3. And of course, Phil had that tremendous finish just a week ago, coming home third, breaking up the Alabama gang's dominance. They had Allison 1-1 and Bonnet trying for third. It was Phil Parsons that took fourth. And now you're on board Number 17, Darrell Waltrip's automobile out of the Rick Hendrick Racing Stable as he prepares for the start. One lap, and they will be racing live on the Superstation today for the last time at the Richmond Fairgrounds half-mile facility.
Ken, Phil, and Benny Parsons asked me to say hello to their mother in Detroit, Michigan, who's recovering from major surgery. Everything went well, but Mom, they just want to let you know they're thinking about you, and they're going to try to bring you home a winner.
They're going to have a tough sled here this afternoon as Morgan Shepherd settles down, running the identical setup in the car to what he ran when he sat on the pole here in 1981. The Winkle car for Mr. Winkle, the first time they've ever been on the pole. Here he comes down leading with number 97 Buick, and right beside him, Darth Vader.
We got three crazies up there for sure. We got Shepherd, Earnhardt. We also have Rusty Wallace. They're going to give them one more. They probably heard me say, uh-oh, there's these crazy people up there. Let's make sure they're in line. But you can bet nobody in that front group is scared of anybody else. And if Earnhardt thinks he's going to intimidate Morgan Shepherd, he's got another thing coming.
Junior Johnson has said about the man on the outside in that black car, Dale Earnhardt. He said his driving style comes from the dirt tracks. A lot of these guys nowadays don't understand it. At those places, you learn about how far you can hang a car out and still save it. And that's really what we have here today, is kind of a dirt track situation. You learn just how far you can stick a nose in the place and still survive. And Earnhardt understands that. And all he's doing is outsmarting a lot of folks that haven't had that short track experience. That's the thoughts of Junior Johnson about Dale Earnhardt, defending Winston Cup champion, the defending champion of this race, as we prepare for the green to flag. Here it comes down, just about ready to fall, and that flag is unfurled. Into turn one, and Morgan Shepherd squirts out in front. Morgan Shepherd pops into the lead. Earnhardt goes into second. Neil Bonnet's in third. Alan Kowicki down low on the inside for fourth. Back straightaway. Kowicki making a move. He's trying for third. Allen sticks the nose of number 7 inside. This is the kid that sat on the pole last year. He's under Neil Bonnet. One car spinning. Brad Teague in the wall up in turn 3. Caution's out. On the first lap, there's Brad Teague, who just nipped the outside wall.
Brad Teague got her turned around, though, and he's going to come back around before he loses a lap. He will stay in the lead lap. It was smart thinking. Earnhardt to dive in under to take the lead from Shepherd under caution. That's an Earnhardt move. Shepherd will look forward to trying to stick that right back to him in turn 1.
Now they race back to the line. They have to come back to the line, and Earnhardt got underneath. They race all the way around. And had there been 3 or 4 cars jammed up there in turn number 3, that would have got real interesting.
Well, you can see how important it is to lead this race. Earnhardt, under caution, dives under to get that lead. He wants to get the lead where there's no cars in front of him, and he certainly wants to try to get out and take care of that car today.
Phil Parsons' car number 55. Pictures there from as we get set on a restart. Pace car is coming out, going to pick up the field. They will check turn 3. So Dale Earnhardt is out in front. Morgan Shepherd finds himself in second, and running the third spot is Neil Bonnet. Rusty Wallace is up to fourth. More live from Richmond in a moment. Green has just been dropped, and they're back underway another time here after we had a spin in the very first lap by Brad Teague. No damage done. He's back on the field. Everybody's racing, and there's Davey Allison slapping the wall up in turn 2, and again the caution's coming out. Now what I think we're seeing here is an extremely cold track, and those tires just aren't getting a grip as we get ready to go. Nobody's getting a good bite.
You're exactly right, Ken. We talked to some of the drivers earlier, and they said it takes 5 to 10 laps for these tires to heat up where they'll really stick, and I think that's a problem here.
Now, Davey Allison has solidly tapped the wall. Remember that he did that in qualifying as well, and they've really busted number 28 on the right side. Take a look at that car as he comes in. Let's get Chris Economaki in.
We checked with several of the drivers just before the start about the tires and the track, and they were all concerned about the extremely low temperatures and the dirt on the track. Normally it takes 2 or 3 laps to get tires up to operating temperature. With the cold weather, they say it's going to take 5 or 6 laps, and several drivers said in these 5 or 6 laps are when accidents can happen because the cars are not getting a hold of this worn-out old asphalt paving. That's what we're seeing now. Back to you.
Let's see if we can discern right here, Chris, what happened. The car number 28 in replay. Field moving down out of turn number 2 into the back straightaway here. And he's already in the wall. That car just walked out from underneath the Rainier Lundy car. The owners of the car are a couple of horsemen. J.T. Lundy, owner of Calumet Farms. and Harry Ranier. And, of course, Harry was calling a lot of the shots last Sunday down there in the Daytona 500 when that car came home in second place, but not to be today.
Well, Davey had a problem with that turn earlier in the week, and I asked him what happened because he had ran great laps and he had hit the wall earlier in the week, and he said, I just ran out of brains, I think. He said the car felt so good, then all of a sudden it doesn't feel good. What happens is this racetrack is so slick, the car just slides across the racetrack and the tires won't bite, and it's almost like a push to the driver. Then they jerk it, then it comes around and it creates a loose position. It just goes around on you quick.
So Davey Allison becomes the first victim of the Richmond Fairgrounds this afternoon after having started in the 15th position. He's out of it. Back in the garage area, they'll try to get him back in because they want those points. Bad break for Davey Allison. And up in front, we have Morgan Shepherd trailing Dale Earnhardt by 1 car position as they get ready on the get-go here. Under caution for the second time, and not too much of a surprise. Very cold, and of course they run slick tires. If you're unfamiliar with motorsports, no grooves on these tires, no tread. You want to get just as much power to the ground as possible on these asphalt tracks, and so the issue is not getting a groove tire, but getting power down. Davey Allison in his first season running a full schedule, he's taking on these short tracks. Davey, you're the first to say you need more experience on short tracks. How do you like starting your education here at Richmond?
This is probably one of the easiest tracks to make a mistake on because it's a very unforgiving track. If you make a mistake, usually you pay for it right away. It's not something that just goes on and then finally bites you later on. If you make a mistake here, it bites you right then. You find yourself in the wall. There's not very much room on this racetrack, either on the front straightaway or in the turns.
That's Davey Allison yesterday. That's Davey Allison's car here today as you look at these live pictures back in the garage area. Race number 2 of the $15 million Winston Cup Series. And Davey Allison's Ford Thunderbird real tore up in the tail. Let's go to Dave Despain.
One of the issues we've talked about here is the tire war between Hoosier and Goodyear. That is a Hoosier shod car. And one of the differences between the Hoosiers and the Goodyears is the Hoosier tires take a little longer to warm up. Obviously, Allison didn't give him time to warm up. He got caught out there on cold tires and into the fence, and that may have been one of the keys. We're ready for a restart.
And Brad Teague was also on Hoosiers. That other car that spun Brad Teague was also on Hoosiers. We're away. Green is back out once again. And on the get-go into turn number 1, car number 3, Earnhardt out in front. Morgan Shepherd is in second. Kowicki in third, and Rusty Wallace in fourth. In the 5th position, back straight away, comes Neil Bonnet.
Morgan Shepherd just hit the wall following Earnhardt. He hit it pretty hard. He stayed out, but you will see there's a big gap. Morgan, right here, if you look the right side of his car, you can see the damage. He hit it fairly hard, just slid right into it.
He almost got tapped by Kowicki, who had to get in the binders hard to keep from spinning him around down here in turn number 1. Races away with 11 laps complete now. Already 2 cautions, and there's the interval between first and second place is on this half-mile track. Better than 110 miles right there. Dale Earnhardt back in front where he was last year at the end of this thing, where he was 2 years ago.
You can notice now Morgan Shepherd is holding the field up tremendously. He may have bent some of that sheet metal in on a tire, but now this is when you have to knock Morgan Shepherd out of the way, or Earnhardt's going to have a drive away. These cars are getting backed up. Here's Rusty Wallace making moves. This is the time people had to force their way and use a Dick Butkus mentality.
And Richard Petty has moved from 9th up into 6th position. Car number 43. Petty right into the 6th position. There you see him in car number 43, trying to close up at this point on Jeff Bodine. A pretty good start here this afternoon. Back up front once again, I would watch for Rusty Wallace to bust out. Alan Kowicki very tender with his equipment. He owns his own car, very careful about it, and I wouldn't be surprised if it would be Wallace that begins to try to ramrod his way through. As we watch Earnhardt roll out in first, Morgan Shepherd in second. And watch this battle back here for third spot. That green and white car is Rusty Wallace, twice a winner last year, once at Riverside, California, and once at Watkins Glen, New York on the road courses. He looks like he wants to peer down the inside and try to move Kowicki, the Wisconsin runner, over. Pretty good scramble there.
Well, they're certainly hooked up close. The number 75 car, driven by Neil Bonnet, is on Hoosier tires also. Those tires tend to stick better after they run a while, so maybe we'll see Neal in 10 or 12 laps start to make a move.
Well, we've now kicked off 16 laps here today. Here's Kowicki, and here on the inside is number 27 making a shot again. Pulls right up and taps his man on the bumper just to let him know he's there. Last lap at an average speed of 91 miles per hour. 91, that's the average speed for the lap. And here comes Wallace again attacking on the inside. He tries to loosen Kowicki up every so often, just tapping on the back bumper to let him know that he wants through and Kowicki won't have anything to do with it. They have faced each other off on a lot of half-mile races of the American Speed Association over the years, the ASA ranks.
Well,
Here's Mark Allen.
Rusty Wallace is an excellent short track racer.
Here's that move on the inside, down to the bottom of the racetrack and not getting through. Let's go to Mark Allen.
Got Davey Allison in the garage here. Davey, you hit the wall hard. What happened?
Well, I just got up in the loose stuff on the outside in the first turn, and the car just kept sliding. You know, there's just a lot of trash out there, a lot of debris, a lot of dirt and dust and everything, and I guess I tried to get to the outside a little too early.
They're working on Davey Allison's car, trying to get him back out.
There you see number 3, Earnhardt, out in the point by 1 8/10 of a second. Then back of him comes a covey of cars looking for second place. There's 6 of them all bunched together behind this man. Number 3, Dale Earnhardt, going for his 3rd win here. Oh, right down to the bottom, underneath the apron, in the dirt for a moment. And there's the interval back to 2nd spot, where you see Morgan Shepherd maintaining 2nd, and in 3rd spot, it continues to be number 7, Alan Kowicki, behind him. And then comes Rusty Wallace trying to find a little daylight on the inside.
Well, you can notice we just have a freight train here. Earnhardt has broken and pulled away, but the rest of the cars are just nose to tail, and there's a lot of touching. But Earnhardt's coming so quickly, those back cars are going to have to be careful or they'll be lapped.
That battle continues between Alan Kowicki, the kid that sat on the pole here a year ago. Here comes Wallace on the inside. Wallace gets it right down in there. And then Kowicki drives away.
You can see Rusty's trying to force the issue. He's driving it on the dirt and bouncing back on the track, bouncing back on the dirt. And he's going to let Kowicki know that you're holding me up because now Morgan's pulling away. So he's got to get by Kowicki or he's in trouble.
We're seeing a situation here that will change very rapidly and very dramatically. These cars are all having to run the low groove, the bottom of the racetrack during the early laps. It's cold and it's slippery up on top. Wallace again trying the bottom, Kowicki protecting the bottom of the racetrack. Once they get up into lap traffic, they'll have to start running 2 abreast with the fast guys predominantly running on the outside. As that happens, a new racing line will develop outside the line that they're all stuck with right now. They'll run single file early, but once they start lapping traffic, they'll build a new racetrack that'll be 2 lanes wide.
There's a great fight going for 10th spot. Here is Earnhardt trying. Benny Parsons on the inside, a little further back. This battle up in front is great. Look at this scramble. They're going for 2nd place again. Meanwhile, further back, car number 17, Darrell Waltrip, has his own battle going. He's fighting with car number 90, Benny Parsons, as they try to decide 10th place. You're inside of the car number 17, Darrell Waltrip, with the Exxon Superflow in-car camera trying to move underneath Parsons. He gets down to the bottom of this half mile as Benny lets the back end out of the Junie Donlevy car and can't get right through. That's a great scramble.
Benny Parsons has always run this track well, and Darrell Waltrip is one of the best that ever lived on this racetrack. But you got to know these old-timers are smart enough to ride and try to take care of their car and be in the middle. But Earnhardt has got such a breakaway, everybody could be in trouble.
Phil Parsons is in trouble and slowing down in turn number 2 for a moment. He's back into it again. He dropped back about 8 positions all of a sudden. They're out of turn number 2. Meanwhile, there's Phil Parsons, who has fallen back in line. Stays right there and stays right behind the Bud Moore car. Trying to get back on the bottom of the racetrack and can't do so.
Everyone's starting to get by Alan Kowicki now. They pushed him to the outside. Rusty Wallace started it and opened the door, and I think that's what happened to Phil Parsons earlier. One car gets under you, there's such a freight train coming that 6 or 7 cars will get around you before you can get back. Now Phil has to work his way around them one at a time.
There he is, dropping down to the bottom and trying to pick up cars. Let's go back to the leaders, where there is a change on the leaderboard. There you see Brad Teague about to be overwhelmed and lapped by Dale Earnhardt's number 3, the leader. In second is still Morgan Shepherd, but up to third has moved Rusty Wallace. Let's take a look at interval here. Here you see number 3. That is Earnhardt. And now you see the second place car, Shepherd, number 97, the Buick. And in the third position is number 27, Rusty Wallace, followed by Neil Vaughn in fourth. Harry Gant is now in fifth. Alan Kowicki has fallen to sixth. Jeff Bodine, the 86 Daytona champion, back in seventh. And then car number 43, Richard Petty, is back to eighth. Here is Richard Petty closing on Bodine and trying to take that seventh spot. Richard Petty, victim of that terrible crash, qualifying so well for this race that his cousin Dale Inman said after Richard had finished his qualifying run, if it wouldn't embarrass him, I'd have got out and kissed him. Richard doesn't qualify too well in these tracks anymore, but look at him busting up the inside and getting under Chemung, New York's Jeff Bodine. The king, Richard Petty, looking pretty stately right now.
Well, you'll notice the move they make. Once they get under, they do let the car drift up because they have that other car between themselves and the wall. They drift up, the other car has to lift, and you're clear.
So Richard Petty now finds himself in seventh and looking for car number 7, Alan Kowicki, directly in front of him. Here's Chris.
Richard Petty is doing extremely well, taking into consideration that his right foot has been damaged from that Daytona accident. The muscles, ligaments are torn in that foot, and this is a track where the brakes are used every lap and used hard. So his braking foot is the tender one. I think he's doing a magnificent job out there. Richard Petty closing on Kowicki all the way around here. Winner of 200 Winston Cup victories, the all-time champion. Here he comes back into turn number 1. He'll have to be assisted out of that car as he was into it before the race began. Look at this, number 11, Labonte, trying to move car number 5, Bodine, out of the way, and number 17, Waltrip, getting into it. What a scramble that one is. There you see that 10th place car, Darrell Waltrip, right up on the inside of Terry Labonte.
You're talking about 3 great short track racers right there. All of them are proven winners, and you can tell how these folks are getting around here. You can see Darrell just sawing that steering wheel with the in-car camera. Its car's jumping around. We got a problem. Car number 10, Bouchard, has hit the wall. Caution is out.
That's the third caution of the day, and it comes on lap 37, the 400 to be run. 37th lap, that is the new Whitcomb car that comes out of the state of New Hampshire. And Kenny Bouchard, the brother of Ron Bouchard, former winner of the Talladega 500, who failed to qualify for the Daytona race a week ago, qualified very well here, but he's had trouble.
Well, Ken Bouchard qualified so well, and a lot of people felt like it was because of the Hoosier tires, because they show better in qualifying. But I don't know what happened. Maybe we can see in the replay, see if we can find out what happened during that accident.
$358,000 at stake here this afternoon at Richmond, Virginia. You're watching the action live on the Superstation. I think a black flag's coming out on somebody.
Can the booth give me a fastest lap thus far on Earnhardt?
All right, 91-1, David.
Thank you.
91-1, second place man is in. Shepherd is in there checking the right side of his car. He'll be something to watch from the back. That would be a good ISO. Gosh, there's some good racing in this event. Petty stays out. Ooh, boy. Earnhardt first.
Got it. Yes,
David,
I have it, Fred.
David, on your way back. David?
Yes.
Earnhardt first. Wallace second. Bonnet third. Gant fourth. Fifth, Kowicki, and sixth is Petty.
Who's after Bonnet?
Richard Petty's after Bonnet.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Harry Gant is after Bonnet.
Kowicki.
Then Kowicki, then Petty.
Thank you.
and then Bodine.
1 lap to go.
How much time away? In the truck, the 97 will be...
Promotional fee and consideration have been paid by STP. For nearly 3 decades, America has been driving and winning with STP.
STP is the racer's edge.
And by Goodyear, maker of the world's most successful line of high-performance tires, the Goodyear Eagles. Goodyear, because there really is a difference.
Here at Richmond Fairgrounds Speedway, we've had our Timex Speed Track computer on the leader in this race, Dale Earnhardt. He has cut the fastest lap of the race thus far. This is neat. You program in the track length, 0.543 miles here, a little more than a half mile. Punch in a lap time. It'll give you the speed. Earnhardt with the best thus far at 91.1. We come down for a restart, and we're back underway with Earnhardt out front.
41 laps are complete. Johnny Hayes, Ken Squire, topside here at the Richmond Fairgrounds live as we watch car number 3 jumping out in front. Lap car, that's Brad Teague on the bottom. Rusty Wallace trying to move around him. With him comes Neil Bonnet, Harry Gann, Alan Kowicki, and Richard Petty back in 6. Out of the back of the pack comes Morgan Shepherd. He pitted. The second place car, the Buick of Shepherd that had sat on the pole, is going to ramble from the rear of the field. He's back in 24th on this restart. Let's see what he can do. Meanwhile, on the back straightaway, here's a move on the outside all the way around. Rusty Wallace dropped back a bit in turn 1, then picked it up and went around Bonnet. Bonnet almost had him for a moment, and Rusty Wallace sails into second easily now after Bonnet had him for a moment. Neil Bonnet back to third. Harry Gann stays fourth. Here's Chris.
I'm in the pits with Buddy Arrington, whose car is being driven today by Kenny Schrader. Buddy, what's the tire story on this car now? Well, right now, Chris, we own the Hoosier tire. We'd like a tire change, which will be over 100 laps. We're going to go to Goodyear. But the reason we're going to Goodyear is because R&M is doing the car, pitting the car, and I already had tires both running race on, and I only had a couple of sets. So we're not changing for no reason, something wrong with the Hoosiers. We're changing because they got many more Goodyear. Okay, that's the first change that we may see more of that as this race wears on. Back to you, Ken.
Ken Schrader buying the ride on the Arrington number 67. There you see this flock of cars moving down. Earnhardt having it all his own way. Could he win this race for the 3rd time? Back-to-back 2 years in a row. We'll see. Bonnet has closed up in his encounter with second-place man Rusty Wallace. And there you see car number 5, Bodine, the yellow and white car that is running in the 7th position. Right behind him, Terry Labonte. And then 17, Waltrip. Waltrip putting on a good scrap at the present time. Pulls himself up into 8th. And you're inside Darrell Waltrip's car as he shakes that thing to the outside of the racetrack. Tries to knock down one more.
Let's elaborate just a moment on that Goodyear Hoosier situation that Buddy Arrington referred to. NASCAR rules require, now that we have a tire war, we have 2 companies involved after Goodyear being dominant for so many years, if a driver or team wish to switch brand, spin, trouble on the racetrack.
Yellow is out. We've got a hard one down here in turn number 1. I mean, we got a beauty. That number 68 of Derek Cope really socked the wall. That's a tough break for the young man from Spanaway, Washington. He is badly torn up. He finally gets it fired. Here's Darrell Waltrip waving to the men behind him that there's a problem here. Keep somebody off his back bumper. Oh, that's a bad break for Derek Cope. He had qualified pretty well for this event and was elated to have made the field. He started in 21st, and in replay, again, let's see what happened. It's in the back. He's in the fence. Nose first. He also took the tail off it. So the Jim Testa car gets disheveled in no uncertain terms.
Well, it seems like we're having so many problems in 1 and 2, where in past 3 and 4 was where we're concerned with it going to be so slick, but 1 and 2, these younger drivers on that situation, there's people all over them, and they're running almost as fast as the leaders. Least little mistake, they hit the wall.
Another slammer in the wall down in turn 1. It happened in the 48th lap. And again, we're under caution in this remarkable start to our live coverage of the Richmond 400.
It'd be better if Kenley did it, but I can do it, sure.
Why don't I do it? Lead to Richmond piece.
Got it.
I'm going to lead it. It's coming up. I have it in hand.
Oh, man. Waterbed Fred. Yeah, I'll try to get Ken to do the colors.
Oh, he put a bumper through the fence? Okay, if you can get a shot of it, there's a bumper through the fence. That's what's going to take the time.
Yeah, they said it's going to be a long caution.
Can we do that story first, Fred? Down in turn one. Down one where they're working. Let's go to that story, and then we'll go to the feature. We have a little problem here. That is the bumper of Derek Cope's car. As you can see, it is not on Derek Cope's car. It is stuck in the barrier fence here, and they must remove it before we can get back underway.
Well, that shows you how hard they hit it. It wedges under, and they're having to cut it with a torch. These people do a great job trying to clean these things up, but that just gives you an example of how hard he hit that wall. But he seemed to be doing fine because he tried to get his car started so he could stay on the lead lap.
So Derek Cope will now have a memory as everyone else. He is now a veteran of the old Richmond track as of next September when we're back here with a brand new 3/4 mile facility. For 33 years, Paul Sawyer has promoted the Richmond Fairgrounds Raceway.
For 33 years, Paul Sawyer has promoted the Richmond Fairgrounds races.
The racing business, as far as I was concerned when it really started, everybody hollered about redneck sport, you know. And I never called it a redneck sport. I called it a suitcase operation. You go down there with rolled tickets, and you'd sell your tickets, and you'd pay your purse, and whatever you had left, you'd throw it in the suitcase and gone.
As stock car racing grew, Sawyer wanted his track to grow with it. But one after another, the fairgrounds rejected his expansion proposals. 3 times, Paul went outside Richmond, investing his own money in efforts to build Virginia's first super speedway. All of those efforts fell through.
So I went back to the fairgrounds, and I made another proposal, and it got beat around, and nothing happened. So in 1983, I built the Wrangler Grandstand, some more patching, and I built a garage area, and I built a media center, because I wanted to stay in racing. And racing was getting out of the suitcase operation and had been out of it. I mean, we were playing big league, and I felt like we were playing big league in a minor league park. And so what I was trying to do was hang on, hoping against hope that one day that something would happen either here or somewhere down the road.
Last year, at the end of his long-term lease, 71-year-old Sawyer made one last expansion pitch. His persistence was rewarded. The fairgrounds approved a $4 million project already underway to build a new 3/4 mile oval with an eventual 90,000 seats. A major league park. Paul Sawyer's dream come true.
Like I say, we're not trying to build a better motortrack. We're trying to build a better racetrack for all aspects, fan-wise, spectators, sponsors, car drivers, the whole 9 yards. And this is what we're trying to put together here, and we think this is what we're going to have when we get through with it.
We are as happy about that new racetrack as Paul Sawyer, because TBS Sports is going to be bringing you the first race ever on that new 3/4 mile track in September when we come back here for Winston Cup Stock Car Racing. Dale Earnhardt has led every lap of this race today. Let's take a little walk here with Dale and explain that he is now the hands-down leader in the early going for the True Value Hard Charger Award. It works like this. True Value puts up $5,000 per race, $50,000 in year-end awards based on the following scoring system. At each race, each lap is scored. The lap leader gets 5 points, second place 4, third place 3, so on down through 5th place. Earnhardt, leading every lap of the race, has a perfect score, so he's in the running for the top cash here from the $5,000 that will be awarded to the True Value Hard Chargers in this event. We're just a lap away from a restart to see if Earnhardt can hang on to the money. Let's go back to Ken Squire.
David, we had him missing one lap. We had Morgan continuing to hold on to that first lap. Let's go to Chris Economaki quickly.
I'm with Derek Cope. I'm with Derek Cope, and you can see that this car took quite a shot. How did you get into the wall, Derek?
Well, I was trying to go on the outside of Jimmy Means because everybody was slowed way down there, and the car was loose going in, and we got turned around up there and got back in the fence. But
what's the track like?
The track's slick out there. You know, it's we started getting loose right off the bat, and everybody's right there. You know, really close, nip and tuck. So anytime you get out of line or make mistakes, somebody's right there.
Okay, thank you. Let's take a look at his car here. The damage that's done when you just get on a slippery racetrack and a steel guardrail on the outside. A lot of work needed to fix this car before it will race again. Back to you, Ken.
Will he be able to get back in the race, Chris?
It's unlikely.
That's the story on Derek Cope as the Pontiac pace car pulls in, feels ready to go. Earnhardt in first, Bonnet in second, Wallace in third, Gann in fourth, Kowicki in fifth, Benny in sixth, Bodine in seventh, Waldrop in eighth, ninth, Labonte, 10th, Parsons, Benny, and 11th, Mark Markle as they go down to turn one. The number 31 car showing second in the field as you watch from there. Remember that T car is just a lap down to the leader, trying to stay up in there and retain a spot, hopefully get back out in front, but that's not to be. He gets overwhelmed here.
Well, Earnhardt has been using Brad Teague to get that good jump start, and Brad Teague pulls right up in front, and it takes him a while to dust him off, but the car on the move right now is Neil Bonnet, and Rusty Wallace is right behind him. Neil Bonnet is in the 75 blue and white car going after Darth Vader in the number 3 car, and it'll be fun because these guys deer hunt together. They're best friends. They fish together, and I think Neil Bonnet liked to stick the antlers to Dale Earnhardt right now.
Well, the stealth bomber stays out in front. Earnhardt, and here comes Bonnet after him. He's closed right up on it. Now this could get real interesting. The best of pals in the off-season, but you may see the sheet metal fly here at Richmond at any moment as those two barrel down into turn number 1. Here comes Bonnet to the inside. He puts that Raymark car through its paces. Looks on the inside another time. Chevrolet in first. Pontiac in second. Pontiac in third. Chevrolet in fourth. Ford Thunderbird is in fifth. The leader at 92.6. Earnhardt's trying to get away, and there's no getting away. Quick car out here right now is that number 75. Oh, look at him hug that back bumper.
Well, Neil Bonnet will try to set him up, see him try to push, and then he'll try to jump under him right here coming out of 4, but Earnhardt won't give him the room. But when Bonnet is running him that close and trying to push him long, he's telling Dale, I won't buy, I want to lead this race. He almost cut it on the dirt there, and if he can get by, if he was just riding, he would sit back. When he's that close, he's trying to tell Dale, I want to lead this race.
We got a car in trouble. Bobby Hillens, number 8, has come off turn 4, running very slowly. Leader's coming to the line, even. Nah, give it to number 3.
And I'm going to tell you, they're absolutely crazy. They risk that. Bonnet gets off in the dirt. They're fighting for that one place and almost crash in front of 20 cars coming along.
Bobby Hillen out of Midland, Texas, in one of the Stavola cars, the sister car to the Bobby Allison machine, having trouble up here in 4. And just idling down toward the line.
And watch them sit and visit. They're talking by, and I guarantee you they're laughing at each other and waving, saying, I almost got you, big boy. And they said, but you didn't.
We asked Dale Earnhardt what kind of a track Richmond was.
It's kind of racetrack alike. I run good here, and the car always handles and works good here. So, you know, Richmond's my kind of racetrack. You know, get out and race hard and race all day. And 400 lap race, you can get it all done pretty quick.
You might wonder why Neil Bonnet would come up and make such a daring move on Dale Earnhardt so early in the race. This is the Hillen accident that brought out the yellow flag. Keep in mind, as we noted earlier, they do race back to the yellow, but more importantly, there is a 5-point Winston Cup bonus for leading a lap in the race. And over the span of 29 races, 5 points a race adds up to enough points to win the championship. So everybody out there running for points, notably Neil Bonnet in this instant, wants to get up and lead a lap under any circumstance sometime during the race to collect that bonus. That's why Bonnet was willing to take such a gamble there to try to get around Earnhardt when that yellow came out.
Thank you, David. 4 cars to tag the wall. I think all of those cars were Hoosier shot as we began the race. Car 8 to be fined for intentional caution, they say. He looped up here in 4, and then he brought it out. They are going to fine him for running slowly back to the line.
Yes, that means that he would not get off the racetrack, and he parked it against the end when he could have gone around and gone down pit road. So NASCAR's pretty smart to these tricks now, and you can see Bobby Hillen's car was fine the whole time, but it's pretty hard to outsmart old Dick Beatty and Les Richter now. They're catching on to these good old boys.
All right, here's Bobby Hillen coming back on the track as we get ready for resumption of the race. Brad Teague drops the number 31 down on the inside beneath the number 3. And let's see if Bonnet can pin Brad Teague on this restart upcoming before this healthy crowd here at Richmond, Virginia this afternoon.
And I want you to watch. Brad Teague sits back 1 car length almost, and Earnhardt jumps right down in front of him. If Teague's going to do it, he should jump right up beside Earnhardt.
Here they come off the line, and as they come back for a green flag, racing moving at the 65th lap, Brad Teague was able to come out through once again from the bottom and stays there for a moment. And what a break for Earnhardt. He's gone.
But see, that's so frustrating for these other guys. Now Teague gets kicked back 17 spots, but Earnhardt gets a breakaway. He should either get in there or get out of there.
Well, he falls back another time, that lap car. He thinks he's going to get that lap back, but against Earnhardt, that's tough. For more on Earnhardt, let's go to Mark Allen.
The last 2 times the caution has come out, Earnhardt's crew has acted like they were going to make a 2-tire change. Earnhardt passed by his pit. They didn't stop. I asked Shelmerdine why not. He said, the car's running fine. I said, a little game of cat and mouse? He said, it never hurts.
Car number 3 is doing just that. And of course, they're very wily folks that work for Richard Childress, Kurt Shelmerdine, and that whole outfit. They know this racing by heart.
Well, I think one of the strongest points that Earnhardt has, he hadn't had to use it yet, but he's got the best pit crew in racing. He had 3 members on the all-pro team over the wall gang, and that's helped him so much in short track races. But now he's out front, and he seems to have them covered right now.
Now there you see the interval between first and second, as for another time that car number 75 tries to close up on your leader. Here's Neil Bonnet moving it again. Has never won in this race here at Richmond, Virginia, the Richmond 400. Further back in the field, see car number 17, Waltrip, is trying to get out from under some machinery at this point. There you see those 2 leaders, and definitely, here's Waltrip's car. Notice he's working on the back of the car number 5. That's Jeff Bodine in 7th. Waltrip is in 8th. And here is Waltrip trying again on the low side.
You see Brad Teague hung out there now. Once you get hung out in that outside lane, anybody close is coming around you, and you just go further and further back because they will not let you back in.
Here's Waltrip trying again on the inside. He really stuck it down in there as he went all the way to the dirt and was not able to get by. Now remember, as you watch these pictures in those straightaways, they're better than 100 miles an hour in these short straightaways of this 1/2 mile track. Earnhardt once again takes a shot down the inside and is not going to get through. Meanwhile, up in front, how do you do? Here comes Neil Bonnet for another stab at the number 3 car of Earnhardt. They're on the main straightaway, and look at the 75 track on the inside.
Well, Bonnet's strong, and he's just wanting to let Dale know, I'm just as strong as you are, and they'll keep messing around, and they'll get together, and they'll have a good time. But I think what Neil's trying to say, let's hook up and get on out of here and try to go lap some cars. Rusty Wallace continues to run great in 3rd place. Harry Gant, we haven't given him a call, but he's been in 4th place all day running up front.
Yeah, I would disagree with that. There he goes right down to the inside, and Bonnet puts the move on. He really put the move on. Car number 3, Neil Bonnet, number 75, becomes your new leader. That is the second lead change of the race, and Richard Petty is making a real run in the car number 43. Petty's trying to catch up with Kowicki here at this point. Another position change may happen. There's Kowicki in the number 7 out of Wisconsin, and Richard Petty right behind him. That is the fight for 5th position on the track. Watch Kowicki in the Ford Thunderbird. Let's see if he can stay in front of Richard Petty. Up in front is Neil Bonnet. 2nd is Earnhardt. 3rd is Rusty Wallace. 4th is Harry Gant. 5th is this man Kowicki, and Petty, who started very well in 9th position after that disastrous crash a week ago, is looking to move beneath him. Richard Petty down on the inside, side by side with Kowicki. Kowicki draws him off with that Ford. No politics on that number 7 team, nor really on the 43, but so many teams are afflicted with problems. Kowicki really runs his own small organization. Now Petty is beneath him, and Richard Petty is picking up 5th spot. Kowicki will fall to 6th. I like the way Kowicki runs. He was on the pole 3 times last year. He's going to be formidable before this season's out.
Well, Kowicki runs well at this racetrack. He did last year. He's a great short track racer, and his money's coming together.
But what about it if Richard Petty could come back and win his 201st victory here this afternoon? Remember, he won the Firecracker 400 at Daytona, what, 84? The years have gone by so fast now. And he hasn't won since. He'd certainly like to turn it around here.
Well, if Richard Petty wins here, man, this would be the biggest thing to ever hit in racing.
Well, remember, Ricky Rudd had a terrible crash at Daytona, came back and won here. Had a horrendous wreck and came back to this track and came home victorious.
Well, I'm just tickled to see Richard running so well, because that just tells me he feels good and the adrenaline's pumping, so he's there, and he runs this track well. He's all-time winner here.
The point that Chris Economaki made is well taken, however. He cut the cast off of his foot. They put a cast on. He said, I really don't want to wear this thing around. And he was funny, you know, he's 50 years old and all. He met with David Letterman the other night. Wednesday night was on his show, and he said, I was determined to walk out and not limp. And he did just exactly that. Here's Kowicki, and right behind him, number 17, Darrell Waltrip is pulling up on Alan Kowicki. Waltrip is also in this 3-car tussle. Here's Waltrip just under Allen as he goes down below the line, going into turn number 1. Darrell Waltrip in the car number 17 is up there, back straightaway, and that spot, number 6, now belongs to Darrell Waltrip in the Rick Hendrick car. The old washing machine's really percolating today. Richard Petty is directly in front of car number 17, and Petty is the all-time winningest driver here at Richmond with 13 overall wins. So we asked him about this half-mile track.
Not really. You know, we've been here since I used to run it when it was dirt, and they asphalted it. We wanted to races on it when it was dirt. We ran races when it was asphalt, and we're looking forward to having a better track at Richmond. There's a lot of good fans up here, and they deserve a little bit better than this.
They're going to get a little bit better than this, and Richard Petty's going to help make it happen. Right after this race is over, Richard is going to climb out of the 43 car, climb on a bulldozer, and begin the ceremonial tearing up of the front straightaway. He's actually going to bulldoze some of that asphalt and open the door to the creation of a new racing facility here. They've given Petty that honor as a man who has won 9 times on this racetrack, including 4 back when it was dirt, 5 times since they paved it. Richard's going to help bulldoze it here this afternoon. Right now, his problem is to hold off Darrell Waltrip.
He said nobody is more appropriate for that job. He said, I bulldozed everything else on this track. I'd like to be part of that action when they get ready to build the new one. Here is Waltrip really closing in on Petty. This is a good scrap for 5th position. And from Darrell Waltrip's vantage point, you're better than 100 miles an hour, sitting right alongside the 3-time Winston Cup champion from Franklin, Tennessee. Waltrip closing in on Richard Petty's rear deck as he fights with him there for 5th spot. Richard holds him off another time. Good battle going on at Richmond Live here on the Superstation, and you're watching and being part of Darrell Waltrip's effort to take another spot as he tries to win this race. Darrell Waltrip having a great day, won over $8 million in his career. There you see him tussling with that car, going back into this corner, working that machine. He is such a good short track talent. Fighting with Richard Petty, who's won more here than anyone. Back in the days of dirt, we've got another car crashing in the wall. In turn 1, it's Jimmy Smut Means. Jimmy Means tears up car number 52.
These cars are all losing it in turn 1, and they're hitting it hard. That corner has got to be so slick, and these cars are just pushing right into the wall. They cannot turn them. They go shooting in there. They need to figure out how to get through there, because that is a tough spot.
So Jimmy Means brings out another caution. That is the 5th caution of the afternoon, number 75. Here's Neil Bonnet, your leader, on pit road, and watch the hustle here. Raymock crew goes to work. And even though it's under caution, a lot of pressure to get in and get out for Neil Bonnet, driving with a badly broken and shattered leg. We'll be back with more of the action here this afternoon at the Richmond Fairgrounds, live on the Superstation after these good words. So many good things going. We just can't get back there.
He's knocking people out of the way.
We can get back to that 97.
5 cars have crashed, all 5 on Hoosiers. I don't know if you're supposed to mention.
We did that before. We did 4. Goodyear Racing update.
Yes, sir. So, come again? I'm sorry, I can't understand what you're saying. Okay. I'm ready. Okay. Wait, turn sideways a little more.
For Fred, 43 and 88 just hit on pit road coming out. I don't know if they got any damage, but 43 and 88, they're back almost nose to tail. They're 2 cars, 1 car apart. Hit. Richard Petty and Buddy Baker.
Ken throwing to me, or am I picking it up live?
I'm throwing to you after I said it.
Okay.
Black flag coming out. Somebody watch me. .90 laps have been completed. All the leaders have come in. They could have gone to about 150. It's been a straight green condition. As we sort them out after this, let me bring you up to date. We are under our 6th caution here, not our 5th. 6th caution, and 5 of the cars that have had real trouble, 5 of those cautions on those Hoosier tires. Let's go to a Goodyear Racing update. Standing by is Bob Barsha.
Thank you, Ken. Hello, everyone. In addition to this great race you're watching here at Richmond, stock cars are also running today down in Bradenton, Florida, where NASCAR All-American late model champ Dave Mader and ASA National Short Track champ Butch Miller are the favorites going into today's first points-paying race of the year, the Icebreaker 125 at DeSoto Speedway. They're qualifying right now. We'll get you more on that later on. Here at Richmond yesterday, the final NASCAR late model event of the year started slowly on this historic half mile, but really ended with a bang.
The Pontiac Excitement 200 was anything but for 100 laps as number 20 Roger Sawyer, Bobby Moon in 90, and Jeff Burton ran single file. Then it all hit the fan. Lap 140, Moon passed Sawyer. They tangled and hit the fence, knocking both from contention. Number 12, Jeff Burton took over until a tap from behind by Wayne Patterson ignited this 10-car fandango that completely blocked the front straightaway. Patterson emerged unscathed to lead the final 30 laps and claim the last late model stock car race at historic Richmond.
And Wayne Patterson also said he was sorry for causing that accident, but he takes the win. Out west last night, Honda's Ricky Johnson overcame a bout with food poisoning, and Kawasaki's Jeff Ward to win the Mickey Thompson Supercross in San Diego. That puts Ricky Johnson way out front in the series standings, while Jeff Matazevich kept his unbeaten streak alive in the 125cc class. That's it for right now from our Goodyear Motor Week Racing updates. Right now, let's go back to Ken Squire and the racing.
As we get ready to resume, I think Jimmy Means will make it back into this race after that altercation he had in turn 1. Pace car getting ready to come in. Richard Petty now in the 21st position after these stops. As he came off pit road, he got nailed, or he nailed Buddy Baker. They hit each other, and Baker pitted after that. He's back on the track, ready for the restart with Waltrip in first. In second, Allison. Bobby, third, Marcus, fourth is Ricky Rudd, and fifth is Kyle Petty as the skirmish gets back underway. 93 laps this time by. Here you are with car number 17 in front. Darrell Waltrip in the lead. Second place man is number 12, the lap car. Number 8 is Bobby Hillen, both off that Stavola team. There's the number 8. That is a lapped car. Bobby Allison trying to move around, and here's what it looks like from the leader's viewpoint. The kind of opportunity you really like in a race. That's the kind of windshield you like to have. Nothing out there but clear sailing. No problems, no worries. On the other hand, there's what Phil Parsons has to put up with further back in the field. Everybody's all over Phil. He's right in the middle of a major war. And Earnhardt is on his way, sailing through cars. One car slamming the wall. Brett Bodine in turn number 4. And we've got a major collision taking place down here in turn number 1. There's Mark Martin's number 6 slithering across the track and getting nailed. And I think Phil Parsons is part of that as well. They've taken the nose off Phil's car.
Phil's on the ground. He's trying to get back up on the track before he gets slapped. The cars have slowed down. That means he can stay in the lead lap. That was a good courtesy move by Darrell Waltrip because he could have gone by if he wanted to.
15 and 27 were side by side, and let's take a look and replay at what happened here from Phil Parsons' vantage point. Going down into the corner, there's the Bodine car, loose.
Just lost it.
That's the car that was the one that tangled with Richard Petty after Richard had rolled over so many times last week. Here comes number 6, Mark Martin, with no place to go. Whammo.
Richard goes across the grass with a great move, picked up about 5 spots. Heads up driving.
There's Phil Parsons back in it again in car number 55. And we can get a look from his car at what happened out there. Oh, that's too bad for the Roush team who had just come into racing.
You can see fluid leaking out from that car.
Jack Roush, the owner of this car, has had such great luck in Trans Am competition with the likes of Pete Halsmer and Scott Pruitt, and they've come to Winston Cup racing and so forth. Their fortunes have not been very plentiful. We'll be back with more live from Richmond following these words. What follows us this afternoon on the Superstation? We didn't see it. I don't want to say that. We didn't see it. Did you see it? Okay. Mark Martin going behind the wall.
You see a lot of
15 got together.
Yeah. Where's feature 1? Okay. Can I have the card for the up close and personal? Thank you.
What feature?
That's it.
Phil Parsons.
What position is Phil in? What position is Phil in?
He's the back of the field, but still on the lead lap.
.98 laps are complete. Don't forget, we'll have a Goodyear mid-race update if we get to it before dark, John.
Well, they've been going sideways on us a lot here. Phil Parsons, you see from his in-car camera, he's coming back in. They had damage on the front right, but it looks like it didn't hurt the car. They're just trying to do cosmetic work.
Phil Parsons opened a lot of eyes last week with his great third-place finish in the Daytona 500. He's also carrying one of our in-car cameras. Let's meet Phil Parsons and his family.
While all eyes in last week's Daytona 500 were on the battle between Bobby and Davey Allison for the checkered flag, back in third, Phil Parsons was on his way to the best finish of his young Winston Cup career. It couldn't have come at a better time.
I wasn't quite as ecstatic as I would have been because my mom was in the hospital this week and had surgery yesterday, but I'm happy to say that everything went really good. So now I'm back on cloud nine, yeah.
9 weeks ago, the arrival of Kinsley Ray turned Phil and wife Marcia from a couple to a family. And while Phil treats the specter of injury with typical racer's detachment,
well, I don't think it changed anything as far as driving goes.
Marcia sees it otherwise.
I know when we were watching the 125 qualifiers and J.D. McDuffie had his wreck, I looked at Phil and I said, would you possibly consider another profession? He said, So, I mean, we have to live with it.
As to what the family reaction will be should Kinsley decide to be a racer,
I would probably send her to Phil. I'd say, go ask your daddy, and he would say, no way.
As we watch Phil working on the racetrack, getting back into contention with a somewhat bent-up race car, I have an assignment here in the STP Pit Communication Center. We've got all kinds of beat-up race cars out there. I want to send Chris Economaki out to take a look around and see who's doing the yeoman's work, who deserves the $1,700 worth of Mac tools that we have for the outstanding behind-the-scenes performance here today. We already have one possibility. Davey Allison, to update that situation, has torn that car all to pieces in that early smash-up. The word we have is that the rear axle and the differential are broken. The right front A-frame, the mechanism that basically holds the front wheel on the car, has been shot. But they're going to try to strip all those old parts off, put new parts on, and get Davey Allison back out there. His crew would certainly be a contender for that Mac Tools reward. Chris may have done some quick work here. They're saying, let's send it down to Chris Economaki right now.
Well, here's another candidate for that award. The men on the Jack Roush crew on the Stroh number 6, driven by Mark Martin. There must be 10 or 12 men working. The car's stove in front of the driver's side. The trunk is shot. They're draining the oil out of the engine. The car is really battered and torn. And we're going to try and get a word in here with Mark Martin. He's being interviewed by the radio on the other side of the car. But these guys are all over this car, and it looks as though maybe they'll get it back in the race or not be handling. Hey, Mark, what was the problem? Why did you get banged up?
Well, I don't know. I couldn't see what happened. You know, it's a tight little racetrack, and there's been dust and dirt on it from the start. Everybody seemed a little bit itchy there after that restart. Somebody got with somebody. The next thing I knew, Brett Bodine was spinning, and I just couldn't get out of it. I tried to get underneath it, and I did, and I got in the mud. And
How hard was the hit?
No big deal. Just, you know, I feel really bad. We hadn't had a chance with this Stroh Light Thunderbird this year. You know, this is second race, and we're out of it already, and the car was running real fine. I wish we could line up and do the Rockingham race this afternoon.
Thank you, Mark. Well, there's a lot of work to be done here. Let's go back now to Ken Squire.
Well, let's see just exactly what did happen to create this 7th caution of the day. 101 laps now complete. From the viewpoint of Phil Parsons, here's what happened. There's Richard right up in front of him and his brother Benny on the outside. Here they are into the straightaway, coming down. It should happen right about now, right in here where the fur began to fly. There it goes. And there was the impact right there.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the way Phil's mind went, is blank.
David, one footnote to that, Kent. Some of the drivers are a little upset about the way Mark Martin handled the aftermath of that incident. I'm sure Mark didn't know it, but that car, as Johnny Hayes pointed out, was leaking fluid. Martin, when he came around to pit road, stayed in the racing group. So he has oiled down the racetrack a little bit. It's already terribly slick out there, and now it's even worse in the aftermath of this incident in which we saw Phil Parsons take that smack right there.
I don't know how much slipperier it could get, David. It's a real skating rink today, and the temperature is indicative of that. I mean, it's cold, and when you have a cold day like this, even though it's a sunlit day, you can see Darrell Walter kind of warmed some heat into the tires of car number 17. Those tires are just like hockey pucks out there.
They sure are. We'd like to go down to Mark Allen now. He has an update.
And with Richard Jackson, the car owner on the 55 machine, he's watching the feverish 35, 40-second work as Phil comes in every lap for some service. How bad is the damage?
The damage, I believe, is just sheet metal. We're going to come back in and take one more look, but I think the chassis is fine. It's just sheet metal damage.
What did Phil say happened out there?
Well, we haven't been able to talk to him about the wreck. We've been trying to fix the car, but evidently something happened in front of him, and
he just couldn't clear it. A bad race car, it's usual here in Richmond.
Oh, here he is in the pits another time as the work continues. Meanwhile, let's review how the field is running. In front is car number 17, Waltrip. Second is Dave Marcus at this point. Then in third is Ricky Rudd. Fourth is Neil Bonnet. Fifth is Dale Earnhardt. Sixth comes Kyle Petty. Seventh, Rusty Wallace. Eighth is Harry Gant. Ninth is Dale Jarrett. 10th is Lake Speed. 11th is Morgan Shepherd. 12th is Terry Labonte. Running 13th is Michael Waltrip. I think we're a lap away from the start. In the 14th position is Lenny Pond. 15th, Benny Parsons. 16th is Richard Petty, and 17th is Alan Kowicki.
I think one of the important things, some of these cars up front have not pitted. If you look at the list, Bonnet and Earnhardt, who in 4th and 5th, Ricky Rudd, Marcus, and Waltrip did not pit. As a result, they're up front. I think you will see in a situation later on that Earnhardt was coming to the front like a bullet. Bulldozer Earnhardt. I think they started bulldozing before or after the race, but there were cars going everywhere, and Bonnet was right with him, and they did a heck of a job, he and Rusty, coming to the front.
Well, there you see Earnhardt back in the 5th position. Pace cars coming in and up in front as the crowd comes to their feet. Sellout Capacity House in Richmond, Virginia. It's cold enough to be polar bear weather, much less football weather here today. Here they are, down for the start. Most cautions in one of these races was 10 and 85, and we've already stretched it to 7, and we've only gone 105 laps. At front running position is Darrell Waltrip in the 17. He has the advantage of a clear track in front of him. And Dave Marcus, with new sponsorship this year in his old racing colors, is in 2nd spot. There you see the number 71 of Marcus.
You can see them, they're really fighting here for spots on this start because it's easy to get strung out and the leaders get away from you, so everyone's really going for it quick.
And let's go to Darrell Waltrip for just a moment. There you see him just easing the car down into turn number 3. Gives it a nice, easy ride down into that 3rd turn. And stays on the throttle, just feather footing a little there to stay out in front.
We need to come back with that shot in about 20 laps and see how the tires change and see if he's not sawing that
hanging on a little harder. Yeah. Meanwhile, up in front, there is the number 8, Bobby Hillin, trying to get a lap back. Looks like he's dragging something.
I would say it's his rear bumper. It looks like to me that it is hanging down.
They may bring him in. Hillin sure looks like there's something hanging off the back of that race car as it comes by. No, it's just a strip.
It's just a strip of tape. That's okay. That won't be a problem.
And the 71, Marcus, in those blue colors, whose career really came to life here with a pole position in Richmond back in 1971, and he just had no money to run on. But he came here, had to borrow tires for the race, and lumbered around on worn-out tires, and finished 5th that day. That's the number 71 right there in 3rd. Now let's look a little further back in the field. There's that. Let's not forget that 75 car. We were talking about those cars that have been slipping. That 75 car that's led this race is on Hoosier tires, and that Neil Bonnet is doing a dandy job.
Neil's strong, and Earnhardt's coming too, and Rusty Wallace in the green and white car is stuck right with them. Now this is the real race because I think these are the hottest cars on the racetrack right now. And you'll see them hook up as a group and come to the front and try to run Marcus and Darrell down.
75 is in 3rd spot. Neil Bonnet is in the 3rd position. Then in 4th, as you see, is number 3, Dale Earnhardt. And behind him, behind the number 3, is number 27. There he is, Rusty Wallace. And back up front, going down into the corner, there's Hillin still attacking, trying to get his lap back. Meanwhile, Michael Waltrip, I think, has grazed the wall. There's no caution out, but he's easing his car down on a pit road. Michael Waltrip right now, right in there. You can see that little yellow car just darting back into the garage. That was Darrell Waltrip's brother in the General Foods car. Brand new team, new sponsor. Darn near didn't make it. They said he spent $30,000 to $50,000 to buy a ride for Michael in the 500 in what had been scheduled as a ride for a very fine campaigner out of Wisconsin.
Bobby Hillin's doing an excellent job staying with Darrell Waltrip. He's keeping all the pressure on him. He's wanting that lap back real bad. Of course, Darrell is going to make him go high if he's going to get it.
Now there's the battle for that 71's position, the 3rd spot. And here comes Earnhardt on the outside of Marcus. This is for 3rd. Say goodnight. The stealth bomber lands one.
Well, I think Marcus understands.
Meanwhile, we got a crash up in turn number 4.
Harry Gant, number 33, is up against the wall, but he looks like he's under control. He's got her spun around. He will not lose a lap. He got forced up into the wall. He made contact with someone, but the key thing is all these cars are saving it, getting back out, and not losing a lap, so they're just as well off as they were, and the caution comes out and they go back up front.
Now, there's a Goodyear car that got loose. There's been 2 or 3 of those. Car number 83, Lake Speed, was in contact with number 33. That was not just a loop. That was some contact. And I think there was contact down here between Brett Bodine and Mark Martin with that other incident that happened just a moment ago. 9th caution, and again, the record is 10 in 1985. Number contained. That's the 8th caution. I beg your pardon. 8th caution. See if we can spot what happened here. Well, there he is. There he is, just parked in the fence, watching the show. Harry Gant, who was up to 2nd in the 500 a week ago, and then the car just went out from under. It was a hard car to handle all day for Hal Needham, and it was a hard blow to that entire team. They had had such a good day, and then had trouble. Here is number 17 on pit road, giving up the lead, Darrell Waltrip, and out in front will be Neil Bonnet when we resume at Richmond Live.
Like he dove in early and maybe down a lap. If Harry Gant dove in early and is down a lap, because a lot of those cars stayed out, and the pace car was not on.
When we come back, can we get 97 ISO? 97. Shepard's still strong all the way around.
Yeah, but he pitted. They never put the
ISO.
pace car out till he was on pit road.
Got it.
Those other leaders, I don't know.
If we can get 97 on the way back, that would be good.
Be interesting to watch Waltrip and them try to come back up through the pack, too.
Yeah, and Petty.
Harry Gant. There's some good cars, as we had said earlier, didn't pit, the 17 and 71.
Fred.
Right.
Fred. On the way back, we need an ISO on 97 and 17 from the in-car camera. 97 just where he's running the track, and 17 is getting the in-car as soon as we can.
What lap are we on, Steve?
117. Thank you. 1 lap to start.
Got it. Here in the STP Pit Communication Center, Richmond Fairgrounds Speedway. Let's update him after the pit stops. Neil Bonnet has taken the lead. Dale Earnhardt, the dominant car in many ways in the race thus far, is back up to 2nd. Rusty Wallace and Ricky Rudd ride 3rd and 4th as they come down for a restart. We're at lap 117. 200 is the halfway mark. That's when we'll have our Goodyear mid-race summary, and it's going to be a crash-marred highlight package for you coming up in about 80 laps from now as we get ready to go back to green. Ken?
Morgan Shepherd is up to the 7th position as we get ready to go. And car number 97, here they are in the back straightaway. And back to 19 goes Darrell Waltrip, who was commanding this race until he elected to pull on pit road and change some tires. We're back underway. On the break, there's Neil Bonnet in front. Let's see if he can pull away from Dale Earnhardt in 2nd. And down at the bottom of the racetrack, Rusty Wallace is in 3rd. Ricky Rudd is in 4th as they begin to sort him out. And Davey Allison's getting back in the race. He trails along behind the field, running very slowly, but he is back on the track. There's Davey Allison's number 28 back on the track. Meanwhile, up in front, there are your leaders. Neil Bonnet going to work right off and drawing a bead.
Did you notice how fast they got back by Bobby Hillin that time? Because Bobby Hillin hadn't pitted, and the 75 car and the 3 car did pit, and they accelerated and went away quickly, where they had to go. Lake Speed
got his radar. Lake Speed pitting and crashing in turn number 4. Hey, this is roller derby here today.
Well, it's a slick racetrack. We knew that going in. Lake Speed, again, gets it turned around. They're not damaging some of these cars. They're just spinning them around.
And what we're going to see a lot more of, I think we'll see more of this, is it's so cold that until they get some heat in those tires, you get 5 or 6 7 or 8 laps on it, you're going to see a lot of this. Getting them back underway is going to be tricky after we've had a caution period. Those tires just go flat cold. If you give them any kind of throttle, car will jump out from beneath you. In replay, let's see what happened here to Lake Speed out of Mississippi. Does a little Gilhooly up here just at the entrance to pit road, and then he backed out into the track. Oh, almost caught Bill Elliott. That's right, where Bill had a skirmish with the fence 2 or 3 years ago and destroyed a car.
Again, Lake Speed's on Hoosier tires. I don't know, because it takes a few laps to heat those tires up, as we were told. I think they're just jumping in on them too hard too soon and not letting that lighter, stickier compound pull in, so they need to run a few laps before they get in over their head. So that's caution 7 for 7 on Hoosier.
Out of 9.
Yeah, 7 out of 9. I'm
7
sorry.
out of 9. And we have Buddy Baker back on pit road another time, reviewing the field for you. This is going to be a very short caution period. Bonnet is first, Dale Earnhardt is second, Rusty Wallace third, Ricky Rudd is in fourth, Morgan Shepherd is in fifth, Terry Labonte is in sixth, Kyle Petty is seventh, Benny Parsons is eighth, Richard Petty is ninth, Alan Kowicki lies 10th, Bill Elliott 11th, Sterling Marlin is in 12th, and Jeff Bodine's number 5 is shown as the 13th car. Going 14th on the field as we get ready to resume would be Bobby Allison. Then in 15th is Phil Parsons. In 16th will be Darrell Walker. And in 17th is Dave Marcus with the 18th spot, number 29. It's so hard not to say Cale Yarborough when it is Dale Jarrett in that car now. Here's Chris Economac.
Well, we're down at Lake Speed pit, but he was in and out. They changed 4 tires. The car's got a lot of slight sheet metal damage on both sides. This old Richmond racetrack, in its last chance to wreck cars, is doing its probably best job in its long history.
Hey, Chris, you're batting about 66 and a third here in this one. Last week, you said that Richard Petty might retire, but everybody forgets you picked Bobby Allison to win, Davey Allison for second. We haven't heard your prediction on today's race, sir.
Whoever's left will win.
All right, let's see. We're down to 124 laps. That's calling it safe, isn't it?
I love it. Yeah, he's been one of my
heroes. The Dean of American Racecasters.
Chris Economaki.
Here we are. Pace car is ready to pull back onto pit road, and when they turn them loose this time, it'll be Bonnet first, Earnhardt second. Rusty Wallace is in that third slot, and maintaining fourth is Ricky Rudd. Morgan Shepherd up to fifth after that brief run between caution flags last time.
Morgan's been working his way up to the front through the whole. When you have to start that far back, it takes a while, but Morgan's car is working as well as it ever was.
Davey Allison has been in the pits and back out again. He's running 30 or 40 laps down. As he was, you may have missed it if you just joined us, he was in trouble up in turn number 2 at Benton car of Vernier and Lundy very badly in the start. Davey is 115 laps down. That's racing for points. 75, Bonnet is out in front. Number 3, Earnhardt is in second. Then the lap car of Bobby Hillen, a lap down. The third place car, there's another lap car in there. That's Harry Gant, who's a lap down. There's 2 lap cars. There's number 33, Harry.
Harry Gant, they made a tough choice. They pitted the car before the caution flag was out. They were okay. They were in the lead lap, but they made a decision that worked against them, and that put them down a lap.
Tough call.
He's going to have to come back.
Tough call. Now let's go back with those leaders. There you see the third place man, and here's number 75 just streaking away, Neil Bonnet. Now remember, Bonnet crashed right here in turn number 2. Said it was the fastest stop he ever made. He went from 90 miles an hour to 0 in 3 feet when he got impaled on the fence here a few years ago. That really hurt him bad, but not nearly as bad as the terrible crash he had in Charlotte, North Carolina last year, which shattered his hip, shattered his leg, and he's come out and run just as tough and just as strong as this member of the Alabama gang always has. And of course, these drivers all load up and go to Australia tomorrow, and then they come back and run at Rockingham, North Carolina.
You have to love it, don't you? The thing that they're dreading is the 30-hour flight sitting side by side to Australia. There's no easy way to get there from Richmond, Virginia.
Take a look at this. On the outside, Ricky Rudd trying to go around Morgan Shepherd. That is a good scramble. The number 97 car, and that is Morgan Shepherd trying to hold on and get in the 4th spot away from Ricky Rudd. Morgan Shepherd is on a tear this afternoon. He's never won this race. His best finish was 4th back in 1981, the year he set on the pole. Now, there's been some controversy about the fuel in this car. After he took the pole, they went and did a fuel sample. They say, we want to do a little more examining. And the word is that they found the fuel to be anything but what it's supposed to be. Say it was Advil or SodaFed or whatever you call it in there. That could be a pretty heavy fine in a long time between races.
Well, they've sent it to California, and they'll make a decision next Tuesday. If they find the fuel was not Union 76, which you're supposed to have in the car, then they would take the pole away from him, any race results, and suspend him for 12 weeks. So Morgan's got his fingers crossed that his fuel was legal.
They also sent out a fuel specimen on car number 3, the Earnhardt car. So you'll have to wait a few days to see how that one comes down.
Here we're in the in-car camera with Phil Parsons, and you can see he's moving quite well. He just got around Darrell Waltrip, which is one of the real good cars, and Darrell's coming right up behind him, got a great view.
Here's Darrell Waltrip's look at that same situation. What you're seeing here is a fight back in the 15th position. Phil is into 15th. Darrell is now in 16th as they're further back and trying to sort themselves out through the field. Bonnet stays up in front. We almost had an Alabama gang win, place, and show at Daytona. And as we mentioned, Chris picked the perfecta. He took the first and second place, and it was nearly Neil Bonnet in third had it not been for the effort of Bill Parsons to break him up. Now here's Davey Allison's car number 28.
Looks pretty good
look
from
at
that side.
Right by him in that second spot.
This car looks pretty good from that side, but Bobby Hillen may mess us up. It has no hood, no side. Davey, are you having fun? Tell everybody in Alabama we said hello. He just had terrible luck.
That's a Harry Ranier short track car you're seeing right there. Mr. Rice is having a cardiac arrest. The gentleman is the accountant and does all the bead counting in that car. You imagine the cost of all those fenders, headlight, lamp, poles, and all that stuff.
Well, the only man that's happy is the body man because it gives him job security, I would say.
Car number 75, Bonnet stays out in front. Dale Earnhardt is in second, and Bonnet is leading by 20 car lengths. It's the biggest advantage anyone has had. We've completed 137 to 400 laps. It's taken a long time because we've had 9, count them, 9 caution periods, and we're not halfway in this fracture. And I mean fracture. They've bent and broken all kinds of race cars. Only 9 cars out there, they're reporting, don't have a mark on them.
Well, I've always loved tackle football better than I have touch, and this is full-blown tackle. We've had a bunch of 15-yard penalties. This one's been a good race.
75 stays in front. Here's Neil Bonnet leading Earnhardt, last year's winner. And there's the 97 to Morgan Shepherd going after Rusty Wallace. Wallace in that 27 car is your third-place machine going around the lap car of Bobby Hillen.
And he's been trying to get around Bobby Hillen for about 20 laps, and he finally saw Morgan there, and he said, if I don't get around now, Morgan's going to knock me around. And you watch Morgan work Bobby Hillen Jr. He will work you hard, real hard, and I can assure you we may be looking at something there, or Morgan will go back because he is an aggressive race car driver.
There's the Buick. That's the number 97 trying to sort itself out and move around, and Morgan is not afraid to mix things up one bit. If he gets trapped in any kind of traffic, he'll just move you over. Fence, infield, whatever it takes. Let's see what happens here. Here's Harry Gant right with him, who has a little experience in that department too.
Well, Harry and Morgan grew up racing each other in Hickory, North Carolina, so they're going to try hard to work together. You can see Harry's car push up right there. That's the spot that the car will just slide. You can't turn it. But he's going to keep coming after Hillen and try to get him on the outside. I think he's making a move. Hillen will lift now because he had him in a funny position.
So, again, the number 33 is running a lap down and is not being shown at the top 18. There is the Neil Bonnet, number 75 Pontiac, staying out in front. And the new Pontiacs have acquitted themselves well in the very first race of the year at Daytona. That was last Sunday, but how will they fare on the short tracks? We posed that question to the driver of this car, Neil Bonnet.
Well, we feel like we got more to work with. The car's a lot smaller. It gives us better weight distribution and all. It's just a simple matter like going down the road. If you want to find a parking place and it's a small hole, you can get a smaller car in there. And as tight as we run on this racetrack, I can't help but think this smaller car will be an asset to us.
That smaller car is running right smartly around this racetrack right now. Neil Bonnet, while we were watching that Morgan Shepherd scuffle, turned the fastest lap of the race. My Timex Speed Track computer caught him at 92.74 miles per hour. That's 0.14 of a mile an hour faster than Dale Earnhardt had run earlier in the race. Right now, Neil Bonnet is the fastest car out there. They're replacing this man in that category. That is Dale Earnhardt currently running second. The speed 92.74 miles an hour on Neil Bonnet.
It's mitten and ear-warmer weather here at the Richmond Fairgrounds as Neil Bonnet continues to heat it up a little out in front. And we've got a car hard in the wall. It's car number 55, Phil Parsons, and tires are down on the left side. Both tires are down as he tries to draw away. That's at turn 1, where Phil Parsons is in trouble. That is the 10th caution of the day and equals that record of caution periods in a race. Well, the old Richmond track does not want to go gently into that good night. It is taking its toll. Let's take a look at the replay on car number 55.
He just got up in no man's land where it won't turn, and every car that's crashed in that spot is there. If you're not at the bottom of that racetrack, it will not stick. You best never get up and try to go too wide there. And he was trying to pass the number 12 car.
Trying the outside, and that's the hard place to go. Let's see if we can see it here.
The in-car camera shows how the cars vibrate when they don't have tires. These things were meant to have tires, so it's about to bring out a bit. He's got a big headache right now, but he is really trying to get her to drift in and get it fixed because, again, we're after points. He's going straight in the garage area, and all his crew's running that way because he will try to get back out.
Phil Parsons has the 10th misfortune of the day to bring out a caution here at the Richmond Fairgrounds. We are running the last race in the history of this event. 36 years they've been racing here. And at the present time, Neil Bonnet continues to maintain the lead with Dale Earnhardt in second, Rusty Wallace in third, Morgan Shepherd in fourth. More in a moment.
Go ahead. Hello. Cold. Well, I can't move.
Start selling stories or start selling products? All right.
Promotional fee and consideration have been paid by True Value.
Whether you're a do-it-yourselfer or a professional, any job will go more smoothly with the quality products and helpful advice you'll get at your nearby True Value hardware store.
And by Days Inn, the Days Inn North on Brook Road in Richmond, where Cleland Jarrell redefines Southern hospitality every day of the year.
We're back here in Richmond, live with the action. We have already tied the race record for yellow flags. The caution brought out by Phil Parsons crashed just a moment ago, and we're not even halfway through this race yet. We'll take one more look at that mishap. We have a preliminary report that Phil Parsons' car was leaking fluid, perhaps a broken oil line, before it went out of control. Here you see the car loose. He apparently slid in his own oil, turned around, and bang, there you see the impact as he hit the wall hard and has really torn up that race car. Again, the indication is that the problem began before the crash as Parsons' car began to leak a little bit and then slid in its own oil, bringing out the 10th caution flag of a wreck-marred Richmond 400. For more on that story, let's go to Chris Economaki.
Well, this has to do with Bobby Hillen's number 8 car that just stopped at the pits. This is the piece they ripped off from underneath the back bumper. It's a rubber molding of sorts, but I just checked my notes. An even dozen of the starting cars have damaged sheet metal, either from contact with another car or contact with the steel guardrail. It may be that before this 400-lap race is over, every single car on the track will be wearing battle scars. It's one of the toughest races I've ever seen from a damage standpoint. It would be an insurance adjuster's delight to estimate today's damage.
Well, we're still 50 laps away from the midway point in the event. There's one of the cars that's been beat up here today. That's Bobby Hillen's machine. He is back to full speed. And again, we would note that Davey Allison has returned to the fray. The battle there, of course, is for points. He was one of the early cars beat and battered in one of the first caution flags of the afternoon. So the big story here has been a slippery racetrack and a lot of wrecks as we move our way through toward the midway point here in the Richmond 400. Let's go back up topside to Ken Squire.
Out in front is Neil Bonnet in the number 75 car for Raymock Racing. He's won some $3,100,000 in his career, and he defines a driver, a good driver, as an aggressive driver, one who gets everything the race car has and just a little bit more. He says, if I'm going to get my car running like Dale Earnhardt's, I'm going to get some bad press because I'm going to be running just exactly like he runs, and that's what he's trying to do exactly at this moment.
Well, I think he's the flagship car of the Hoosier Tire Company now, and I know all those people down in Hoosier land have their fingers crossed and hope that he holds together because he's done an outstanding job. Again, he and Earnhardt are best friends, and he doesn't mind leaning on Earnhardt at all because Earnhardt loves to lead on him.
Can I tell you the story about the hunting club? They went out hunting together, this hunting club, and they both had those four-wheelers, and Neil says they got ready to go out hunting. They started down this road, and he said, he just comes up and turns right into me, knocked me off the road, took the fenders off and everything. And he said, why'd you do that? He said, well, I didn't want you to spend the rest of the day worrying about getting the woods and getting the thing all scratched up.
Earnhardt's a nice one. We're thinking about brain surgery, but we can't find anything to transplant into his head.
Nice going. Here's the pace car coming in as Earnhardt gets ready to go. The defending Winston Cup champion, defending winner of the Richmond 400 in the black number 3, lying second right behind his old compadre, Neil Bonnet, as they come to 120 miles an hour right here, then brake hard into turn number 1. Going around the lap car of Mark Martin in number 6 down to the bottom. Remember, he got thumped pretty hard down here a little earlier. He's back out 34 laps down, and you can see Martin's car snapping as it comes off the corner. The handle's really gone away on that machine.
And Rusty Wallace in the green and white car right behind Dale Earnhardt in the black car. He's kicking a little sideways, too.
Rusty Wallace pulls up on the inside. Wallace trying to move through. Took a look at the inside on Earnhardt. Now there's some power being shown. Barry Dotson's team, the Blue Max team, entered by Raymond Beadle out of Texas. This car number 27, driven by Rusty Wallace from Missouri. Raymond Beadle, the many-time world drag racing champion who came to stock car racing, put together this great team. Rusty has a brand new airplane. They fly 6 of the crew on it. He flies Barry Dotson, who does not like to fly. And Barry said that he always sits in the very back seat in car number 27. He's, why do you always sit all the way in the back? And Barry said, you've never heard of one of these things backing into a mountain, did you?
Would you ride with Rusty Wallace in an airplane?
Absolutely.
Let me ask you that question.
Absolutely. I think he's a great driver. I think he's very sensible, very calm.
In an airplane?
Oh, sure.
Well, you watch his sensible calm, because Morgan Shepherd in the number 97 car is just getting ready to jump up in there, and he's not one of the boys here. And let's see how sensible and calm your new pilot is.
Here we come out of turn number 4 into the main straightaway. You're with number 27, or rather out of turn 2 into the back straightaway. There's Rusty Wallace, and he is maintaining the third position. Right with him comes Morgan Shepherd. Pontiac versus Buick. 27 the Pontiac. The Buick, number 97, coming on. Out in front, it is a Pontiac here at Richmond today with the Neil Bonnet car leading by about 15 car lengths. There he is. And then the Chevrolet, number 3, right there in second spot, Earnhardt. And then just back of them by about the same amount, here comes number 27, Rusty Wallace. Likeable guy who's just coming of age this Winston Cup race. Here comes Shepherd down low. He wanted to put a wheel on him, then backed out of it just a second. He'll wait.
We need to check down. We need to check down in the pits with the guys that are having to repair all this junk so these crazy people can run in circles. Let's see if Mark Allen has anything.
Robert Yates is the team manager and crew chief for Davey Allison's car. Give us a shopping list of the things you had to fix or replace on his machine.
Well, we had to put a complete rear housing under it. We had that already before we came here. We had to put all the right side suspension under it. And some of the mounting brackets and the sway bar brackets are bent, so we don't have the car back 100%. We're trying to make laps. It's good for a team to know how to work in these situations.
How long did it take you to make the repairs?
Well, we spent 30, 40 minutes, but it's still good for a team to go ahead and make these changes, and maybe somebody fall out, we'll gain a position.
Davey Allison out there running for points and experience.
Main straightaway. Oh, we've got a spinner. That's Kyle Petty in trouble. No caution as yet. No caution. He's getting down to the inside, and he's dead stopped. He's trying to find a hole to get back in. The engine is fired.
We tried to go forward. Now he's going to back it up because there's no caution, and he can't get back into the event.
He may not be happy about that. He may not be happy about that at all.
Well, if he doesn't get a caution, he's going to just back it around, and what they're going to do is end up having a major accident here because of failure of a caution. Finally. Now what? Somebody hit him head on.
And he stopped out there. He's trying to find a hole. He was trying to find some way to get back in it.
That's amazing. You have to back it all the way around to get her going because he had no way to get in if he went forward, and the caution wasn't coming out, and he was losing time, and he was trying at his best to get back in.
Here it is out of turn 2. Comes to a halt. Pulls it back out of the dirt. And he looks for a hole here, and he looked for quite a while. I think he looked for a lap there at least, John.
Yeah, he tried to go forward, and there was no way to get in, so he decided, I'll just back it around. I think that was his only chance of getting back in.
He was 15th when that all came to naught. And there's Richard Petty in car number 43 on pit road, running outside of the was in 6th and now is running outside the top 10 with this pit stop. Bob Barsha takes a look at how big business has changed the look of this sport.
Winston Cup racing is riding a high tide of success these days with packed grandstands and garages full of race cars backed by big promotional budgets.
If you're going to budget $1.5 million to sponsor a race team, then you had better be prepared to spend an equal amount to promote that race team, or it's just not going to work for you.
All that investment means added pressure to produce, to make the show, and to run up front.
It means a lot because a lot of good sponsors are really putting a lot of money in this sport. And if you don't make a race, you know, it's a deal where a lot of guys really haven't been faced with that before. But, you know, all the guys are really going to try to run as hard as they can, especially us, to make the race. But, you know, it might be a deal where they can take you back to the drawing board and say, you know, we need to talk about this a little bit.
The race starts. If you started 8th and you ran up on the pole sitter, whoever that may be, and you were outrunning him a half a second a lap, he realized this, and he said, hey, go ahead because you've got a chance to go to the front. That doesn't happen anymore.
The victims of all of this big business are the independents, a dying breed of owner-drivers like Buddy Arrington.
You ain't got about 5 of us left right now, 5 what you call independent racers, and this year will wipe them all out. I don't think you'll see any independents next year at all. It's going to be, before the season ends, it's going to be some of us that will be at the end of the season.
It's weeding out a lot of people that were making a living and doing pretty good and really enjoy doing it. and it's got totally professional now with all these sponsors and stuff coming in. So, you know, you can't run a small business in racing now. Now you got to have a big business.
Thoughts of Richard Petty as we're just back under green with 167 laps complete. Bob Barsha takes a look at how big business has changed the look of this sport.
Winston Cup racing is riding a high tide of success these days, with packed grandstands and garages full of race cars backed by big promotional budgets.
If you're going to budget $1.5 million to sponsor a race team, then you had better be prepared to spend an equal amount to promote that race team, or it's just not going to work for you.
All that investment means added pressure to produce, to make the show, and to run up front.
It means a lot because a lot of good sponsors are really putting a lot of money in this sport. And if you don't make a race, you know, it's a deal where a lot of guys really haven't been faced with that before. But, you know, all the guys are really going to try to run as hard as they can, especially us, to make the race. But, you know, it might be a deal where they take you back to the drawing board and say, you know, we need to talk about this a little bit.
The race starts. If you start at 8th and you ran up on the pole sitter, whoever that may be, and you were outrunning him a half a second a lap, he realized this, and he said, hey, go ahead, because you've got a chance to go to the front. That doesn't happen anymore.
The victims of all of this big business are the independents, a dying breed of owner-drivers like Buddy Arrington.
You ain't got about 5 of us left right now, 5 what you call independent racers, and this year will wipe them all out. I don't think you'll see any independents next year at all. It's going to be, before the season ends, it's going to be some of us that will be at the end of the season.
It's weeding out a lot of people that were making a living and doing pretty good and really enjoy doing it. And it's got totally professional now with all these sponsors and stuff coming in. So, you know, you can't run a small business in racing now. Now you got to have a big business.
Thoughts of Richard Petty as we're just back under green with 167 laps complete. Hard time for those independent teams like J.D. McDuffie, who was treated with a skin graft this week, still in the hospital down there in Daytona. J.D., if you're watching, we all hope you're feeling much better. I wish you the very best of luck with Mr. Rumpel. Get yourself a car again. And our best wishes to Bobby Wowack, who is out of the hospital and back. He broke 2 vertebrae in his back. And to Billy Engel, who broke a leg down in Daytona. It was kind of tough on some of those folks. And J.D., of course, had that very dramatic crash when the car burned at the top of turn 2 at 190 miles an hour and literally melted the steering wheel while he was in there.
As we watch him come back to green here with Bonnet leading, Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace battling over second. A couple of footnotes to that Bob Barsha report on sponsorship. Number 1, Rick Wilson, one of the guys we heard from, classic example in this race. He did not make the field for this event. His Kodak-sponsored car wasn't fast enough to qualify. But guys like Buddy Arrington, the independents may have found a new source of income here because, as you noted on the screen, for this race only, he becomes the car owner of record for the guy who sat on the pole for the Daytona 500, Kenny Schrader. Schrader did not make the race and had to buy a ride in Buddy Arrington's car. Last week it was $50 grand that Mike Waltrip paid to drive Jim Sauter's machine. This week Buddy Arrington gets the check for putting a frontline driver in his car, and we're going to see a lot more of that this season, particularly here on the short tracks, where only 32 cars make the field. More than 40 cars tried to qualify for this race.
41 entries for this race, David. 41. I think they had actually 39 on the grounds, and that means that some big teams went home, like Rick Wilson with the Folgers car. Here's Jeff Bodine pulling on pit road for an unscheduled stop. And then, of course, the Kodak car did not make this field. And they're all down there finding ways to take some of those independent rides. It worked out pretty well for Jim Sauter's team last week. And they made a few dollars, and it worked out well for Mike Waltrip and company. But it's going to be tough, and you don't have any place to pit more than 30 cars at a place like Richmond. That's the issue. Those pits are packed with 30. There isn't room for any more. And you have 32 with the 2 alternates, the provisional starters. Right now, we're watching this battle between Hoosier and Goodyear up in front. There you see a Hoosier shot car. Number 75 is leading this race. And you go way back in the record book to Cale Yarborough driving for Firestone, the last time we had a victor other than a Goodyear winner in this form of racing. And right in second spot is the Goodyear car of Dale Earnhardt. November 3, 68, Jefferson, Georgia. That was it. The old last win by other than Goodyear. Now look at this scramble. Car number 11, that's the Junior Johnson colors. looking a little stouter right now, pulling up on Morgan Shepherd. The sun is out. Temperature is in the mid-30s. It's cold here in Richmond. The tires are not getting a bite. And at midway, we're at 176 laps, 200 the halfway distance. We have a new record for number of cautions in the race, 11, breaking the old mark of 10.
You notice the handle's going away on Morgan Shepherd's car a little bit. He's kicking dirt up, and the other group of cars right behind him are having trouble getting around. Morgan Shepherd in the 97, he's tried to work low in the dirt. It kicked him up, then he went high.
Let's go to Mark Allen.
Bill Parsons' Oldsmobile is a mess in 3 of the 4 corners, particularly in the rear, where the oil reservoir has just been removed after being ruptured. Bill, you're giving Superstation viewers quite a ride out there today. What happened?
Well, I guess I got my right rear tire 2 inches out of the groove and got in the slick stuff as typical old Richmond, and nothing you could do then.
Bill Parsons, they're trying to put this car back together to go back out and run, but given what's happening, you have to wonder why.
Indeed. The points, that's the why.
Yeah, Phil Parsons closed that out with a high bomb, so I don't make sure that she heard that.
Now look at that scramble for second. There's Earnhardt in the number 3 in the second spot, and right behind him comes Rusty Wallace, and he looks like he's got the horses to play with Earnhardt here. Earnhardt doesn't have this field covered.
Well, Rusty loves to mess with Earnhardt. Every time they go out to practice and Rusty gets a new car, Earnhardt will walk up and put a big tire mark on the side of it in practice, so you'll get used to know. I think Rusty would love to put a big tire mark on number 3 right now.
Here they are in the back straightaway. Rusty Wallace to the inside. The Missouri driver against the North Carolinian. Earnhardt just a little wide here. Legendary family of American stock car racing, the Earnhardts. And here's Dale trying to persevere in second spot while his old hunting buddy and fishing.
You know what's great?
To fish for a bigger lead.
What's great, we've completed 181 laps, and we're about to write Earnhardt off. He doesn't have this thing covered. He's dropped all the way back to second by 3 car lengths. Maybe he has a tire a little bit off or something, but I'd like to be someday on a car that people stood on national TV and said, yes, he certainly don't have them covered. He dropped all the way back to second.
Second place, right. And watch this number 27 pulling up. Meanwhile, Darrell Waltrip further back in the field in car number 17 in the 10th position. There he is trying to close back up on Bodine. Now, Bodine may have gone down a lap after that pit stop. The average speed, hey, how about this? It's 58 miles an hour, John. You know, the record when they opened this thing was almost 58. What was it? It was 60 miles an hour in 1960. Cotton Owens did that. And when Lee Petty won here, he won it at 48 miles an hour. Boy, we had a lot of caution. This track just does not want to die.
Well, I think this track's just telling everybody in the world goodbye, and most of all, you race car drivers. And I heard a few minutes ago from the pit reporters that the race car drivers are running around taking up money, see if they can just close it up right now.
Here comes Rusty Wallace back on the inside. The white and green, number 27, goes back on the inside. Here's the number 3 on the outside, and they're wheel to wheel down in the corner. What a scramble for second place. Earnhardt fights him off.
Oh, he had him then. He should have just turned on him a little bit, just like Earnhardt would have him. You know, just rub him. I think that's where Barry Dotson's probably hollering from the pits. Rub him, rub him.
Barry Dotson's the crew chief on the white and green car of Rusty Wallace, and he's down there this time. Let's see if he rubs him a little coming out of the corner. Oh, maybe a little.
See, that's the gear getting off the corner. They're running different gears in the race car, and Earnhardt's car is getting off the corner just a touch better. But here comes Rusty after him again.
And they're collecting the leader. They're moving back up on car number 75. They've cut that down to just 3 car lengths. It was 20 car lengths 15 laps ago.
What Earnhardt was doing, he was just visiting with Rusty, and then Rusty tried to get around him. He started driving hard again because he can't stand anybody to pass him, most of all Rusty Wallace.
You talk to second place about what a great job he did, and he'll just say, if you're second, you're a loser. 188 laps are complete as we have a 3-car battle developing here at the Richmond Fairgrounds. Johnny Hayes alongside. I'm Ken Squire, covering the action. Mark Allen in the pits today with the Dean of American Racecasters, Chris Economaki, and Dave Despain is at the STP Pit Center. We'll have a mid-race Goodyear report upcoming. Bob Marcia standing by. Car number 97, Morgan Shepherd, backpedaling a little. He's dropped to 6th from 4th at this point. There he is in that Buick. with the Fisher engine. You know, the Fishers have built those great V6s, but this is one of the few stabs they make at V8 with those engines from out of Simi Valley, California. Car number 97, that Buick, Dennis Fisher created the motor for.
We called it earlier. His car quit working. I don't know what happened to it, but once he gets to make a pit stop, he'll get it dialed in again.
Meanwhile, up in front, car number 75 is the lead machine, but not by much. And here comes Rusty Wallace down to the inside. Look at Wallace closing on both leaders. Rusty Wallace.
He goes a little sideways. He's driving it as hard as it will go because it went sideways on him. But he had Earnhardt to bank off of if it went sideways far enough.
Something's going to give here. 3 cars battling for the lead at the midway point. 191 laps are complete. 191 halfway coming up in 9. Back to the main straightaway. Leaders. And 3 of them grouped together. Here comes Earnhardt to the inside on his old buddy, and he'll lean on him a little here.
You see the difference? He did touch. See, he touched and leaned and let you feel it. Then he let off to let him go, but he just wanted to let Neil say, hey, I'm here, and here comes Rusty. Now he's under him. He's got position. You watch. Earnhardt will get by. You watch him go by.
Now that's that intimidation.
Let him drift. Watch him let it drift high. Touch him, go by. That's why Earnhardt beats you on short track.
Oh, and look at him fight that thing. He had it all the way loose. He made 2 corrections there to get it straightened up again.
And I'm sure Neil Bond didn't say it. You're not my buddy anymore, so I hope we get to lean on you until after this race there. But that's why Earnhardt beats you. He will let it drift up. Rusty had Earnhardt the same way, did not let him rub him. You got to rub these guys because this is tackle football.
Down the back straightaway. Earnhardt trying to pull away again. Let's see if Wallace will stick it in there. There's the Buddy Arrington car being driven by Ken Schrader. They bought that ride for him after he failed to qualify. The man who was on the pole at Daytona failed to qualify for this race. Provisional starters. Here's Dave Despay.
Leo Mail has joined me here in the STP Pit Communication Center. Leo's tickled to death to see that Goodyear-clad car get around the Hoosier-clad car there. As head of the racing department for Goodyear, you guys have had it all your way since KO won on some other kind of tire years and years and years ago. Now you've got some competition. How do you respond to the Hoosier threat?
Well, we think it's great to have somebody to compete against. We've been really cooperating with NASCAR for 15 years, and we really haven't tried to make the tires go faster because really the problem is the cars have been going too fast without a tire war to speed things up. So this gives us a good reason to do that. We think it's great.
Now that we have a tire war, will you turn the R&D people loose and say, okay, now the trick is to beat Hoosier week in, week out? Will you be developing new tires?
We will probably be changing tires from one race to the next. Each track requires a different tire, so you can't run the same tire next week that you ran this week. But I'm sure that by the time we get back to Richmond, well, we won't come back here. By the time we get to the second track of each, second race of each, at each track, we'll have a different tire.
They say competition improves the breed. We've got a battle of the brands on the racetrack, and now it includes a battle of the tires. Thank you, Leo.
Well, I certainly understand Mr. Mel why he's excited, because every time I picked up the paper, I've read Goodyear, 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 Hoosier, Goodyear. That's the story in racing right now. And these companies like to see their names in the paper.
Halfway in the race, and it's dead even for second place. Wallace is going to take the spot. Rusty Wallace finds himself into second. Neil Bonnet falls into third, and he didn't have to lean on him, John.
No, I think Neil's a different situation. Neil will give you a little room, and he says, let's don't tear it up. I'm running a great race. We're just halfway.
But he won't give his old pal Earnhardt much room.
Oh, no. He liked to mess with Earnhardt. It's a whole different attitude. But he's sitting there saying, Rusty's a high school boy coming up, and I'd like to help him get started. So I'll let him go by and see what happens later on.
201 laps are now complete here at Richmond in our live coverage on the Superstation. And we're delighted to tell you our next telecast will be with you for the 600 from the great Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Memorial Day weekend. And we hope you'll be with us to enjoy that wonderful afternoon of racing in Charlotte, North Carolina, Memorial Day weekend. It will be live right here on the Superstation. Okay, are you going to start doing some rundowns of the cars in the race? Yep. Okay. Fine. Before a sellout capacity house at Richmond Fairgrounds, Dale Earnhardt's black number 3. The Stealth Bomber continues to lead this 400-lap race as we've just crossed the halfway point. Let's take a look at the Goodyear mid-race report on this second race of the year. It is Earnhardt first, Neil Bonnet right with him in second, then Wallace in third. This was at halfway at 200 laps, followed by Labonte and Alan Kowicki, then in the 5th spot with his Ford Thunderbird. 6th was Marlin. Darrell Waltrip back up to 7th. Lake Speed hanging on in the 8th spot. Morgan Shepherd and Bill Elliott in his Ford Thunderbird back in 10th spot. Looking further back in the field, Richard Petty is maintaining 11th and staying in the lead lap. Ricky Rudd is in 12th. Dave Marcus in 13th, and Buddy Baker and Bobby Allison, the winner of the Daytona 500, is in the 15th position. Further back on the field, Dale Jarrett in the Cale Yarborough car is 16th, followed by Benny Parsons, Harry Gant, Hillen, and Brad Teague. Those are the top 20. 32 cars started. Morgan Shepherd is pitting right now. These are the cars that are out of the race. Derek Cope has retired after a crash very early on. Michael Waltrip lost an engine in his Pontiac. Phil Parsons had a serious crash. And as to what happened out there in that incident, let's take a look again at the moment that was the most serious for Phil Parsons here today in this infamous turn 1. Slams the wall. Tires on the right side, on the left side deflating, tearing up the car and putting Phil on the trailer.
Well, he said he got 2 feet out of the groove, and that's all it takes. It's that slick down there, folks.
And that's our Goodyear mid-race recap here at Richmond. Back with the leader live with now 214 laps complete. Earnhardt is first. Rusty Wallace is second. Big story here is we've had 11 cautions in the race, which is a new record. The old mark is 10, and we're just past the halfway mark. And all of these, I believe, caused by cold conditions. Yes, we have a tire war, but really the weather is so cold. If it was 10 or 15 degrees warmer, I don't think we'd have half of these.
I don't either, because all the cautions came right after other stops, and the tires never had the chance to heat up. And it's just the track's slick, they won't turn, they slide, and you're gone.
You know, John, we heard from the vice president of the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, Leo Mills. I'd like to hear from the chairman of the board, chief operating officer, the president of the company, Mr. Newton or Mrs. Newton. You know, that's a mom-and-pop operation out of Indiana. This is their first time up here in Winston Cup racing. They've got their purple and white kind of circus-looking trailer. They do add a lot of color to the show, and they're really going to help. I think it's going to be terrific to have someone else in here fighting with Goodyear all the way down the line in 29 races.
Well, the competitors love it because it makes Goodyear get back to work and develop new tires, do things, and all of a sudden everybody's going to have real good tires.
Bob Newton has to be happy about how Neil Bonnet's running. Let's go to Chris.
So many yellow flags that the tires haven't really had a chance to wear over a long period of time. Now, at the last pit stop Benny Parsons made, they took a tire off of his car, and I've never seen one with the blisters on the edge of that tire the way that was developed. It may be, if the green stays out for a long period of time, we could have some tire trouble on this crazy racetrack today. Back to you.
And that's the word for it. It is a crazy racetrack today. There's no bite anywhere. You get 8 feet out of the groove in turn 1, and it's Saco City in the wall. Here's Mark Allen.
Bob Verhilly is the co-owner of the number 75 car Neil Bonnet drives. Bob, Neil was leading a while ago. He's backsliding. Any problems?
Not really. We're due for left side tires. Once we get left side tires on it, I think we'll be back in good shape. He's just trying not to abuse the car. We got a good race car. There's 200 laps left, and as soon as we get a new set of left about 100 on them left, so got a little over 200.
And as you heard, they'll take left side next time.
Car number 75. Neil Bonnet now back in 8th position here in the race.
Well, again, they're not real concerned. I think you can tell when the car owners say, hey, we're not concerned, they're not concerned because they know as soon as they get a tire stop, they'll be okay. They just don't want to get in a position where they could get lapped.
222 laps down, 222 laps complete as Earnhardt begins to have it his own way for a while. I can't think this is going to last. I think Bonnet's going to get back into this for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if Waltrip has something to say about the end of it. And let's not forget that Richard Petty is still very much in this race, running in 11th. Long way to go. Taking a look now at that battle for 5th place. There's the number 44, and here's 17 Waltrip running in 6th, trying to take another spot.
Well, the 44 was Sterling Marlin. They've been getting after each other for several laps. Sterling Marlin's also an excellent short track racer, grew up. Darrell's going to try high, and that is that dangerous spot. Because if Marlin forces up just a little bit, you get off in the slicks, then you're in big trouble.
Yeah, you're going right to the wall. You're going right to the repair shop.
And that's why these people have been so conservative on passing on the outside, and they can get hung up so long behind a slower car. But if you can't get under, see, Darrell's trying to force his way under, but he can't quite get it. But he will keep trying it under, because if you go around on the outside, you are risking carrying up your race car.
Well, there's Darrell Waltrip trying to close in one more time on Sterling Marlin in the Billy Hagan car. And the Hagan Racing team looking pretty stout this year.
And I'll tell you another thing. A lot of these cars that are down a lap are hoping this thing will stay green, because Earnhardt can go out and lap a lot of other cars, which put several cars down a lap. Then you have a chance to get a top 10 finish versus looking at 18th or 19th. So they're not concerned at all if Earnhardt stays and they green. They hope their pit crews will come on.
Well, let's go back to the leader and see if we can get an interval between Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace. Now in second with Terry Labonte third, Alan Kowicki fourth after the halfway in the race. The leader, and here you see that second place car, Rusty Wallace, coming around the white and green car, number 27, in second spot, and that's about a 5-second, 5 1/10 interval between first and second place. As Dale Earnhardt, who has earned some $7 million since he came on the circuit in 1975, continues to work away at this lead.
Well, he's an awesome short track racer. We said before the show started, this is an intimidator's race. If you can knock people out of the way, push them, bang them, and Dale Earnhardt drives aggressive, and that's his secret here.
Another car in the wall and back again in turn 2. I don't think it's going to be a caution, but Kenny Bouchard up in turn 2 just slapped the wall hard and bounced all the way back in the track. He's back underway. Let's see if he's going to come in or if he's going to stay out. He's trapped on the outside of the track and can't get in the pits, and Neil Bonnet is there. Here's Bonnet, the 8th place runner in the pits, looking over the tire situation, adding fuel. He's in 9, he's in 10, taking some time here, working on the left side rubber. Down he comes, 16.4. He's back out, and he's going a lap down, going 2 laps down. Going 2 laps down out of number 75.
And this is when he hopes is that this thing stays green.
Let me point out the reason he's 2 laps down. One is in running in 8. He was almost 2/3 of a lap back and slowing down to get on pit road and getting back on the track, plus the 16 seconds. That put 75 2 laps away from the leader, number 3, Dale Earnhardt. Who's quick out here, Dave Despain?
I just put the Timex Speed Track computer clock on Dale Earnhardt, the leader. He has hunkered down now at the midway point in the race. He dropped a couple of miles an hour off the pace that he was running earlier. I had him a lap at 90.21 miles per hour. The fastest lap in the race, still Neil Bonnet's, who's just gone, as you said, 2 laps behind. He did a 92.74 mile per hour lap back on lap 140. That was in the intermittent periods of yellow. Now we've got the long green flag run, and they've settled in for the long haul here with Earnhardt up front. That Bonnet pit stop makes an important point about this short half-mile racetrack with 20-second laps. You cannot pit under green and not lose a lap on this racetrack. Ken?
Well, you can certainly understand why the cars have slowed down. It's not because he's not driving as hard. The tires are going away, and when he gets new tires, you'll see him pop those big speeds. I'm sure that Bonnet's back out there flying again, and we'll put a watch on him later. But as soon as you get new tires on it, the car will pick back up originally.
car number 17 has moved around the 44. Darrell Waltrip has pulled up into 5th. And that number 5 is a lap down or so. Those cars up in that lead up. He's 2 laps down. Earnhardt is in 1st. Wallace is in 2nd. Terry Labonte is in 3rd. Alan Kowicki is in 4th. Then in 5th is Darrell Waltrip. Lake Speed is in 6th. Sterling Marlin is in 7th. Bill Elliott is registering 8th. And Ricky Rudd is in 9th with Richard Petty in the 10th position. And a good battle developing between the 26 and the 43.
Hey, this report from the pits.
I'm down in Neil Bonnett's pit. They just took the Hoosier tire off his number 75 car that was worn to the cords. Now, earlier we saw a Goodyear tire come off of Benny Parsons' car that had trouble. These long, sustained periods on this cold, they're doing things to tires that have never been done before here again on this crazy racetrack.
Well, points about that I think are interesting. One, Hoosier developed their tires on the short tracks of the Midwest. When they made their inroads into NASCAR, they came here with a tremendous amount of short track racing experience. One of the things that was very interesting about their tires' performance at Daytona was that they were able to run long runs on the super speedways without wearing out the tires. But those tires were very hard. Here, their tires are of a softer rubber compound, and it's obvious that they're wearing a little more quickly here this afternoon.
Well, David, car number 17 has just moved around number 7. Waltrip is flying now, and he's up to 4th position. Waltrip is as quick as anything on the racetrack. There he is, and he's trying to put another lap on Bobby Hillin. And meanwhile, a tremendous battle is developing between the 9 of Bill Elliott, the 26 of Ricky Rudd. Here he is on the inside, and the 43 of Richard Petty. Now, these cars are 8th, 9th, and the 10th spot. There's Bill Elliott running in 8th, then Ricky Rudd in 9th, and Richard Petty in the 10th position. That is a good struggle, and directly behind them is the number 3 trying to put a lap on him. Earnhardt is trying to put these 3 1 lap down. I think they'll go down hard.
And you'll also notice 75 car Neil Bonnet trying to get by Earnhardt to get one of his laps back. And that's critical at this point because he'll only be 1 lap down, and when Earnhardt pits, he'll get back in the lead lap.
Well, he's made it. He's on the inside, and the new tires hold him right at the bottom. That extra 8 feet, that's all the difference that it makes.
And he's going to pull up right now in front of Earnhardt if he can, but Earnhardt keeps him down because Richard Petty's there, so he wants to go on by. But there's 3 real good cars almost to get lapped.
Earnhardt's trapped in the box. With Bonnet on the inside, Petty in front, there's no place for him to run unless he really uses some muscle, and I don't think he wants to use up the snout on that race car.
I'm not sure that's the case. He's liable to take them 3 wide, knowing Dale.
Here they are back in the main straightaway, and look at Bonnet trying to do something to Petty as he gets the lap back from car number 3, and now on the inside of Richard Petty, it's a lap back from him.
Well, Earnhardt sitting there saying, push him up, Neil, push him up, just like I taught you. Now watch how easy Earnhardt goes by. You watch him, he'll push up, and Richard doesn't take any junk from anybody, but you still watch him push up. Dale may be afraid to lay a fender on the King, though. That's a little different. You're not supposed to hit royalty.
Look at this fight between Ricky Rudd in the 26 and the 9 car Bill Elliott. Just, again, here's Earnhardt still trying to get out of the box. Directly up in front of him, there it is. There's the 9 car, Elliott. And remember that he's in 8th, and Ricky Rudd doing a grand job in the Kenny Bernstein prepared car is running directly behind him in 9th. And meanwhile, the story of the race continues to be Bonnet making up a lap and getting loose for a moment and falling back in line.
Well, Bonnet's certainly trying hard to get it. And here comes his friend Dale. Let's see if he makes contact with the King. No, gave him plenty of room. Richard comes off the corner, gets back.
Looks like Earnhardt may be out of rubber here a little.
No, I think he's respecting royalty. He's never let running out of rubber affect his driving style before. I think he knows that that's Richard Petty, and I don't want to lean on him too hard.
I think you're pulling our leg. We're going to be back with more live from Richmond and the coverage of the final Richmond 400 on this half-mile track in a moment. do that. I'll give it to you. Earnhardt's in. Earnhardt's on pit road. Dale Earnhardt, leader, is on pit road. Here's Chris Economaki.
Well, there was a left side tire change and fuel. Obviously, spinning the wheel snadly as he goes back out. It was not the best of pit stops. It did take a while. Back to you, Ken.
And directly behind him, Rusty Wallace makes his pit stop. Wallace, the second place car, has pitted, and they have rubber to go the distance now. And fuel.
Well, you're looking at two of the best pit crews in racing. Rusty's one of the best, and Dale's one of the best. And these pit stops here are critical. Everybody wonders, why are they racing so hard now? Because if a caution comes out, you're left. Here comes a number 11 car running third on pit road.
And Sterling Marlin, the seventh place car, is on pit road. And the big news, Neil Bonnet has made that lap up. He's back in the lead lap with that pit stop by those leaders.
And now he's on pit road, though, so he's going to go down again. The number 9 car, Bill Elliott's also in.
Number 9 and number 11 are in. There's 11 coming back out again. And the 75 car is hanging in there.
Here's the 9 car, Bill Elliott on pit road. Looked like they had a good stop. Bill Elliott, who's not supposed to be that good on short tracks, has done an excellent job today. He's kept that car up there all day.
For my money, that was the best race of the year last week in Daytona for Bill Elliott. Okay, so he didn't finish up in the top 5. What was he, 9th or whatever it was? But I thought that what Ernie Elliott and what Bill Elliott had said all week, they weren't sandbagging, they weren't kidding, they were underpowered even compared to Davey Allison. And for him to stay in that draft and finish up in that lead lap was as good as you can do. You know, there's some days when you don't win, you still have a great race. That was the case on Bill Elliott last week.
He certainly stayed in there with him.
There's the new leader. That's Darrell Waltrip back in front. I wonder what he's going to elect to come in as we sort this race out. We're now down 259 laps. Getting into the shadows of this one. It has been a barn burner from the moment that they let the horse out this afternoon.
Well, you know, Darrell's been a little out of kilter on pit stops with everybody, so I think he'll stay out for a while. And this is the danger of a lot of the cars getting lapped, because someone like Darrell, who has stayed out longer, who has gas in the tires because of the way he's been running. And another thing I'd like to say about Darrell Waltrip, he's always been historically one of the best short track drivers around, but he also knows how to set up the car. And he and Jeff Hammond work well together, and that has made this team run well. And I think they'll run well all year.
Well, here's Darrell leading, and range becomes an issue now. Do you want to bring it in? Do you want to come in right now, take that gamble, or do you want to stay out there and run that tank a little leaner?
Well, I think the real story right now is there's the number 5 car of Jeff Bodine and the number 11 car. Terry Labonte is down 1 lap in the number 11 car to the number 17 car of Darrell Waltrip. Number 11 car, number 5 car want to get around that 17 car because they're down lap 2, just in case a caution comes out. You see the 97 car right in front, Morgan Shepherd did get around to get back in the lap.
And there's the 5, Bodine, 86 Daytona 500 winner down to the inside, but Earnhardt holds him off again.
We're looking at really good class short track racers in a wad there. Every one of these people are good short track racers, so this is unreal. And Harry Gant stuck right in there behind them trying to get a lap back also, so this is a good group of cars.
Bobby Allison has just pitted number 12 and come back in, and I think we ought to tell folks what we think a good short track racer is.
Well, I think a good short track racer is someone who knows how to do the things we've talked about. You've got to be aggressive. You've got to know how to use the racetrack. Junior Johnson told me there's very few people that can drive it in deep enough, hit those brakes, tap that gas, and turn a pushing car into a loose race car to make it make a turn. He told me that Earnhardt's the best he's ever seen it do that.
What we're watching here is the kickoff of a season-long battle for a $500,000 pot of gold at the end of the line. Here are the upcoming Winston Cup events. We'll be moving on to Rockingham from here, then to Atlanta. That, of course, is home track for old Bill Elliott. Then it's off to Darlington. Bill, what do you think, buddy?
Bill Elliott, two-time winner. Great American race.
NASCAR racing is the most exciting racing in the world. Maybe you couldn't make it to today's race, but you can still share the excitement of NASCAR racing. So chances are there's a weekly racing series track near you. NASCAR weekly racing series in your area, because it's okay.
Caution is out around the racetrack. We've just had another caution. 267 are complete.
Jeff Bodine, again, they were trying to get around Waltrip, he and Labonte, and I'm sure something came together there.
We'll see right now.
He did the same thing that Bill Parsons did. I think he got it up 2 feet too high, and she goes around. That just shows you how slick that turn is. They're seriously talking about 3 or 4 inches.
Let's go to the Darrell Waltrip pits. Number 17, Waltrip, who has been leading, is on pit road. Directly in front of him is Richard Petty. Alan Kowicki is in. Let's go to Mark Allen.
This is the 4-tire stop in the Darrell Waltrip machine. He's down and away in 16.5 seconds. A good stop for the leader.
Caution came out at lap 267 for car number 5, Bodine. And here you're watching live Darrell Waltrip back underway. Car number 5 not looking too bad for the wear it took. And that's really the story. It's 4 to 6 inches that makes the difference between getting into turn number 1 and getting through it, or getting thrown for a big loss here this afternoon.
I think the fans would see the cars go by the pace car. What the pace car is on the racetrack looking to try to pick up the leader. And all these other people that had already pitted, that they were not passing the pace car illegally. NASCAR put him out and said, try to find the leader, and they told him the leader, and they pick it up. So now everything's under control, and the pace car is on the track.
They've got a consultation flag out on 2 cars that may have picked up a lap. I think it's the 11 and the 97, Morgan Shepherd. Let's see, here comes the black flag out again from the starter as they come to the line, and they're going to put 11 and 97. It's 11 that's a lap out. A lap out of safety. Let's fix that now. Here's Bob Varsha, who has a Goodyear racing update for us.
Thanks, Ken. Now let's get caught up on all the racing elsewhere in the country. Down in Bradenton, Florida, the first event of the NASCAR All-American Challenge Stock Car Series is set to go. Butch Miller has the pole for this afternoon's Icebreaker 125. Series champ, 3-time series champ, make that Dave Maynard, had a bad qualifying session. He's way back in 10th place. Now in California this weekend, Ascot Park near Los Angeles played host to several nights of World of Outlaws racing. And 8-time series champion Steve Kinser's night got off to a bad start.
In the heat, the orange car of Tommy Estes Jr. climbed over Kinser's front wheel, knocking him into the B main, where Kinser advanced without incident. Not so Johnny Herrera, who tangled with Rich Bubeck and flipped, but without injury. In the feature, Jack Hewitt, driving an unfamiliar race car, overhauled both Kinser and Sammy Swindell to take the Friday night win.
Now, Mark Kinser, who finished 4th Friday night, came back last night to win with cousin Steve Kinser behind him. Jack Hewitt, Sammy Swindell, and Doug Wolfgang filling out the top 5 there. To the frozen north, Herm Johnson and Bill Pater still atop the standings after yesterday's 5th round of the Ice Series Championship, literally on the lake at Lake Crystal, Minnesota. And Bobby Donahue of Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin, is about to grab that Formula One Snowmobile World Championship. They ran they're running the 10th of 11 races in that series this afternoon up in Sudbury, Ontario. That's it for now from the Goodyear Motor Week Racing Update Center. Let's get back to the racetrack and Ken Squire.
Well, we could be running the Snowmobile Championship right here. The temperature's sure right. It's a beautiful day in Richmond. The wind's a little frisky, and it's a little chilly as we get ready for a go and look at pour number 15 for Brett Bodine. Stuck in the mud. And while he's getting unstuck, he needs a little of his sponsor's product right there to slip out of that situation. We'll pause for this message. going to be a while, Fred. They're still getting Bodine out. Somebody needs to get with Bud Moore as to what happened on 15. Mark Allen to Bud Moore.
The left side tires fell off. They probably didn't get the lugs
They didn't get the lugs on, but let him get into what happened. Should reset the field. Waltrip is leading, David. 17 is leading, and 7 is in second. Kowicki. 17 and 7. 26 is third.
Everybody has 4 new tires and a full tank of gas.
Live from the Richmond Fairgrounds Speedway, we watch Terry Labonte's number 11 parked on pit road. We're in the STP Pit Communication Center watching the action as these cars have all come in during this extended yellow to get 4 new tires and a tank of fuel. It appears that Darrell Waltrip will be the leader when we go back to green. Alan Kulwicki has moved up into the number 2 spot. Behind them, still some shuffling going on as the pit stop sequence continues here, and what will remain to be seen who emerges after the cars come in for their late stops right at the tail end of this yellow flag period to see who is actually going to be out front. The key issue is that all the cars are now rejuvenated and ready for what could be a run to the finish. Let's find out more about that Terry Labonte situation from Chris Economaki.
Junior, we rarely see 2-lap penalties handed down. What was the problem?
Well, they're saying that Darrell beat Terry back. Terry says he didn't do it. He says he was ahead of him when he crossed the finish line. It looked like from here he's ahead of him. But they got a camera up there, and I want to see that picture. If he's ahead of him, fine. If he ain't, when this damn thing's over with, I want my lap back.
I don't blame you. What'll happen if you're right?
Well, wherever we finish, they give us our lap back, then we'll go from there. They're supposed to have a camera up there to say who is in front. And Terry says he's ahead of him, and from here, he looked like he's ahead of him. I don't know, but I want to see the picture where it says he wasn't.
Thank you very much, Johnson. You can see this veteran car owner is not happy with that official decision that cost this driver, Terry Labonte, 2 laps. Back to you, Captain.
Well, John, Junior is not happy today at all.
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to be that photographer or whoever that fella is with the picture.
Now take a look at this. The tires have fallen off the left side of the car. This is reminiscent of the Wood brothers and David Pearson and their breakup. Apparently they were missing some lug nuts. They started out and bingo, no tires on the left side of the race car.
Well, usually what happens in a situation like that, tire changers do know that they have to put the lugs back on. It's usually a situation where there's a miscommunication and the driver thought it was time to go, everything was done, but I feel certain that they didn't have time to get the lugs on and the driver had already left with the car and they just couldn't get it to stop and they rolled off.
Reminiscent of 79 at Darlington. Here's Mark Allen.
And Johnny Hayes, that's exactly what happened. We talked with Bud Moore. He's so mad he doesn't want to talk on camera, but they came in to do a 4-tire stop. They loosened all 4 lugs. They got the right sides on. They dropped the jack. Brett drove off. The tires fell off.
A la David Pearson in the old days, right?
Yeah, Bobby Allison had one of those, too. Yeah. It's happened a few times.
Well, I think you're under so much pressure. He's a young kid. He's wanting to get out there and do well. And I think he probably just overreacted or got a missed signal from somebody that it was time to go, or thought they were just going to change the right sides, but they were going to change forward.
One change here, I would say it was, Pocono 76 when Bobby Allison had that problem. Derek Cope is now in number 22, replacing Lenny Pond of Virginia. Well, when we talk about crashes, and we've had our share here today, we've had 12 cautions thus far. Darrell Waltrip has won at Richmond 6 times in the 2 races they run each year, but this really tough half mile has bitten into Darrell too.
It's the most memorable experience I had here was a couple of years ago when Earnhardt jackknifed me into the fence back there, but you know, I've had some good times and some bad times here, and some good memories and some bad memories, but I always look at these racetracks as a part of tradition, and I'd feel cheated had I not gotten to race here with the track the way it is and the conditions the way they are, and not having a chance to race here and having a chance to have won here.
Darrell Waltrip carrying one of our onboard cameras today. Let's get a word from Chris Economax.
Well, we've seen a lot of strange things happen in this racetrack today, and I told you I saw a tire off of Benny Parsons' car that had funny-looking blisters on it that I'd never seen before. And then we saw a Hoosier worn to the core coming off of Davey Allison's car, or Neil Bonnet's car. Now look at this tire. I've never seen this happen before either. It looks like a Salvador Dali painting or a collage. A tire come off of one of the cars is air in it. It could run, but it really looks like it's been cooked and melted and so forth and come out of a waffle iron. It's been a strange day at Richmond Fairgrounds last day.
I think that was called moon surface, Chris.
There you go.
Well, I want to translate for everyone from Lyerly, Georgia, Denver, North Carolina. Collage is a bunch of pictures that you put together like when you graduate from high school.
Thanks,
the yearbook.
John.
That's rich people's talking.
Appreciate
college
it.
people, collage.
Here's the leaderboard now. Darrell Waltrip is first. Ricky Rudd is in second. Richard Petty is third. Rusty Wallace fourth. Dale Earnhardt is fifth. Lake Speed is maintaining sixth. Neil Bonnet is being shown in seventh position at this point.
Okay,
Dave Despain.
I'd like to throw it to Dave Despain, who's an expert on collages.
A prescient observer of the collage scene, Johnny. As we watch the True Value Hard Charger proceedings here, keeping track of the cars that run in the top 5 positions each lap and scoring them for the $5,000 in total awards that will be given away to our Hard Chargers. Dale Earnhardt continuing to lead in that category. He's built up a big early lead because he's been in the top 5 all afternoon. Neil Bonnet had been up front, led the race, and accumulated a bunch of Hard Charger points, and then fell a couple of laps down, has since worked his way back into the lead lap. Rusty Wallace, with consistency, running second, third, fourth most of the race, is third in those standings. Again, that for $5,000 in True Value Hard Charger money here this afternoon.
The number 15 car, the Bud Moore Ford, still sits very forlornly down in turn number 1 as they try to get it extricated there and get it back on. They brought out some tires and got it hitched up, and here comes Brett back out. And Bud Moore gets angry. It's a little like Junior Johnson.
Bud Moore is a big man. He can't hit a 7-iron, but he can hit you with his fist, okay? And Bud, he's probably not that upset at Brett or the crew. He's upset about the breakdown in communications because you practice this, you go through it time after time, and he says, how's this stuff happen to me? You know, that's what he's going through. He'll be fine Monday. We have a rule that you never talk to a race car driver, a car owner, or a crew chief to 48 hours after the event is completed. We don't let them talk with each other. We try to separate them, then they go to lunch together.
That must be some debriefing. Here's Mark Allen.
Part of the reason that Brett Bodine had the problem that he did is the teams are changing the way they do pit stops in their ever-continuing effort to shave time. Instead of sending just 2 air guns over the wall, let's say to the right side of the car, for instance, they're sending 3 guns over. And to make sure they don't have too many men over the wall, they're actually delaying fueling on the car. That's what happened to Brett Bodine. They had all the lugs off, so when they dropped the jack on the right side and he drove off, he probably had no idea what had happened.
Well, they're in now. They're changing the tires. Left side on car number 15. Getting back out here. Lengthy caution period, and this comes at lap 278. Everybody is reshod. Everybody is refueled, and we're ready to drive for the finish. And it's going to be a tremendous, and as you take a last look at this kind of funny-shaped half, looks a little like an egg up there, John.
Yeah, I tell you, there's going to be a lot of people. See, I didn't realize eggs could eat $60,000 race cars in such volume.
Yeah. The egg that stole the Winston Cup champion. There it is.
You know, the points chase now. Everybody thought they were off to such a great start. Now everybody's going to sit there and say, after this race, how are we doing? You know, the whole thing's jumbled.
Well, here's how it shakes out as we look at the field getting ready for the restart. On the point is car number 17, and that may be incorrect. He may be on the bottom end of a lap as they get ready to go. We begin to see them sort them out here. And let's get a word from our friends in scoring. We're seeing 17 being shown up on the point. 383 and 17 are just on the tail end of the lead lap, John. That 17 car that will lead the group. That Darrell Waltrip car right there is on the tail end of the lead lap. Lake Speed is in that group.
Well, you can see the
and
camera
Earnhardt
shot
wants to make
there,
them 3 wide.
If
We get outside for a minute, you're going to see them 3 wide trying to get sorted. They may take another lap before they're ready to race.
Yeah, because
there's a fair amount of confusion here, and the confusion starts, Ken, in NASCAR scoring. They're having trouble sorting out what happened here, beginning way back with the start of this caution period when Darrell Waltrip's number 17 and Terry Labonte, who got penalized the 2 laps there, raced back to the yellow flag. It shuffled the deck. They're having trouble sorting out who's actually leading this race.
Well, they're showing that 17 car is down on the tail end of the lead lap, and as they go, they say it's as follows. 3 is your leader, and we'll try to get this updated from NASCAR. 3 would be the leader, Dale Earnhardt, with the 83 Lake Speed, then in second, John.
Well, I think he said that evidently the 17 car was in trouble also for racing back to the flag, so he may have had a 2-lap penalty anyway. But here comes the number 7 car, Alan Kowicki, making a big move to get by Darrell, and Rusty Wallace sticks it right in there. He started on the bottom, so he must be showing a lap
Kowicki's down 3 laps. The number 7 car that just popped up in front, and among those leaders now coming by, we try to get word from scoring to confirm where we are here with 283 laps complete. We see Rusty Wallace to the inside with Ricky Rudd in the 26. And while we're sorting this out, Phil Parsons' car is back on the track. They've done a lot of work on car number 55 and put Phil back in again.
Well, I think it's so confused in scoring. I think they're showing Phil Parsons as the leader. I am not certain on this. He's been out for about an hour, but that shows you how important points are. They just rebuilt a race car just like they did Davey Allison, hoping that, hey, if other cars fall out or have a problem, that you will pick up some spots, and at the end of the year, that 5 or 6 points can be critical. Phil Parsons lost 12th place by 5 points.
3 and 83 are battling for first place down in the corner. That 83 is in second. That is Lake Speed. He's going up underneath car number 3, Earnhardt. Back straight away. There's Earnhardt holding him off, bending him off another time. Earnhardt in front and perched right on the rear bumper and challenging again is Lake Speed. Now these cars in front of them, Richard Petty, Darrell Waltrip, Ricky Rudd, and Rusty Wallace are in the lead lap, but on the tail end of it. That's what they're telling us.
Well, what a great showing for Lake Speed in his Oldsmobile. We haven't called those many Oldsmobiles today, but Lake Speed has jumped right up there in the front, and he seems like he can give Earnhardt all he wants, and he's diving under him.
He got him. He pulled him in that corner. Now here's Earnhardt back again, but watch what happens in turn 1.
Well, Lake Speed has him on the outside, and it's hard to get too aggressive on the outside. We've seen that happen before. And if Lake Speed can hold the bottom of that racetrack, Earnhardt's going to have to be awfully strong to get by him. And I think Lake tripped up.
Yeah, he gave him a little shoulder right there.
And there's another Oldsmobile right behind him, the 44 Sterling Marlin. They seem to be hooked up and ganging together. Lake did get by him and clear him. Here comes Sterling to push under him, and Earnhardt is still on the outside.
Now in the sort out, there's a big separation between the second place car and the third. They're showing as the third place car, number 27, Rusty Wallace, 4th, Ricky Rudd, then 5th, Waltrip, and 6th, Petty. Well, they need another caution to put the front of this field back together. But as far as Lake Speed is concerned, it's just dandy right now, just the way it is.
Well, if Wallace is in second place, he's not that far ahead of the leaders, so he's in jeopardy of getting lapped himself because he's sitting right out there running in front of the pack. So I guess we have 2 cars that are clearly in the lead lap.
And the rest of them got trapped in there, and all this changing going on in the pits.
Well, that's what we said earlier about, you know, when people stay out longer on cautions and things happen like this, and you have not pitted, you can lap a lot of cars on a half-mile racetrack.
Well, Mississippi's Lake Speed, who's never won a Winston Cup race, is now out in front with that Oldsmobile.
Do you realize, you know, whoa, we got Harry Ginn in the wall between turns 3 and 4. He looked like he hit it pretty hard this time because it almost stopped sudden when it hit. I don't know exactly what caused it. It was back in the pack, but he is backing it up and going to try to get it off the racetrack as soon as this traffic gets by.
291 laps are complete, 291 down. There you see the number 33.
This has been something, I'm telling you. It seems like this isn't Rockingham, is it, where we're running 500 miles or Dover or somewhere? We've been here.
No, it's the last race in the 36-year history of this track, which began with dirt, then went to asphalt. This is the last time we'll see this surface, and this surface just doesn't want to get off camera.
There's a replay, and all you can see is a lot of smoke and stuff. I don't know what happened to cause it, but he did hit it fairly firm.
He's able to get it back out and try to bring it around, and they're bringing the safety crew out and the speedy dries. If he may have Drops some lubricant. Now car number 3, Earnhardt, is on pit road. Number 5, Bodine, is pitting at this point. And also coming back into the pits is car number 15, Brett Bodine.
Well, Earnhardt's car looked like it was slowing a little bit, and they're changing 4 tires. I have a feeling that they were not happy with the setup they had.
Here's Chris.
Well, a few moments ago, Kirk Shelmadine, Dale Earnhardt's crew chief, said they could go to the end of the race if it remained green. But you can see how they're rebuilding the car. He stopped again just now, put on 4 tires, and every car in the race now has enough fuel to make it to the checkered flag if the green flag stays out. Of course, if the yellow comes out, they bring them in to put fresh tires on and rebuild the cars, make some adjustments so that they can race a little bit better. But if it's green all the way, the crew chiefs, the pitmen rather, have done their work for today.
Working on the fence in turn number 3. I think there's just a quick job, but when we come back, we'll have approximately 7 laps to the 100-lap mark. So we'll have just about 100 laps to go when we return to Richmond Live. Going to catch it right now.
So we can put them all together.
You'll have 83, 27, 26, 17, 43, and 3. Okay, we really need to establish this field as to who's in the lead lap as soon as we can, either Dave or us. That's important. Why don't you let me establish the field? We're still working on it.
I do have a... Ben, do you have me a shot there of Darrell Bryant? Thank you.
I've dressed it up for you, little kid. Let me see.
You're going to set up, Ken, is that correct?
Okay, what's coming? Is that the lead cars? Are they in the lead lap? You have 6 cars in the lead lap? Is that confirmed now? No, it's not confirmed.
We're back live at Richmond, and how about Lake Speed? Number 83 in this race. Just a year ago, he was up there with Ken Squire in the broadcast booth. But the man bought himself a race car, built his own team. I'm going to nominate his crew chief, soft-spoken Darrell Bryant, for $1,700 worth of Mac tools. Doesn't say too much, just goes about his business, has obviously helped Lake Speed build a very competitive race team, and he is in the lead here with 100 laps to go by our Timex Speed Track computer. Lake turning the last green flag laps. We get a look at Darrell also clocking Speed's progress out there. A lap at 92.4 miles an hour. That's just about 0.03 of a mile an hour off the fastest lap that we've seen thus far in the race. Speed and Bryant have their act together here this afternoon. Now let's see if they can keep it together all the way to the checkered flag. Let's go back up topside to Ken Squire.
I do believe that was Dale Inman.
Yeah, let me ask you something. If Lake Speed was up here with you last year and is leading the race, do you think if I bought a car that there would be any possibility?
Not even a smidgen of a chance, John.
God, I'd love to be a hero in something. You know, I've always wanted to be successful, and I've always failed at everything I've done. It would turn my life around. How much do cars cost?
Well, I imagine you can pick up a second-hand car, $55,000, $60,000.
Wrong. You're a little more than that. Now you know why I sold all of mine, right?
I was going to make you a deal. I had something in mind. Lake Speed is out in front, and in the second spot was Rusty Wallace, and in third was Ricky Rudd on the latest rundown from NASCAR, and fourth, Darrell Waltrip, with fifth, Richard Petty, and sixth, Dale Earnhardt, all in the same lap. That's the latest story from scoring. And we sit here with our paws in the air, wondering what's going to come up next from that.
Well, what a great day for Richard Petty. You know, the adversity a week ago to be sitting here, and he's run well
if he
all day.
won? What if he comes back and wins this thing like Ricky Rudd? Remember, they had to tape Ricky Rudd's eyes open because they were so badly swollen after that 15-time rollover, whatever it was he had there in the old Bud Moore car. He came back and won on this track the next week.
Honestly believe if he won, there'd probably be 16 presidential candidates in Level Cross, North Carolina tomorrow trying to get the king to endorse him.
Well, you know, they're going to have a big open house down there this summer for Richard Petty, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of candidates showed up. It's pretty hard to find anybody you want to be more aligned with than Richard Petty.
They only draw about 40,000 people each year to that thing, so it's not a big,
They buy the
happening.
band. They buy the band uniforms. They pay for the hot lunch program. That's it in Level Cross, North Carolina. When Richard Petty has open house, they take care of the local high school, and they don't have a United Fund. They just have the Petty Fund.
Yeah, he's a hero. I'm telling you, he's a legend, and he's a legitimate hero.
He's one of the most important people, if not the most important person that has come along in stock car racing. His family transcended the 1959 opening of the Daytona 500. And of course, that family has won there 9 times. And let's go to Mark Allen quickly.
Paul Andrews is the crew chief on the Alan Kowicki car, and Paul, there seems to be a scoring dispute with NASCAR. Tell us about it.
Well, we pitted on that green flag right before that caution came out, and we got down a lap then. Then when that caution came out, we made our lap back up the last time, and now NASCAR saying that we're still 1 down, and we know that we're not.
If they are indeed on the lead lap, their tires are 30 laps older than Dale Earnhardt's, for instance.
That is a song that will be sung many times before this day is over. With as many cautions as we've had, it's amazing it hasn't come up before.
I think every crew chief and owner's going to buy a telecast of this thing so they can see where their car is and what really happened. Everybody was fighting side by side to get position here, so they had to keep the caution out 1 more lap to get everyone lined up.
And they're still fighting side by side. It's the last run on this half-mile track. It'll be a 3/4-mile track that we'll be speaking to you from in September.
See Kowicki up there, he's got 3 wide. Waltrip, no one will lift because this is critical, and everybody's saying, no, you're not in the lead lap. Yes, I am. So this is going to end up in a black flag or a ragged restart.
Chris?
Yes.
Hello, Chris.
Hello. Yes, the scoring seems to be in trouble here today. Junior Johnson has said that the scores penalized him incorrectly, and now Alan Kowicki, people say the scoring is not right. I think with all the yellows, there's a problem. Back to you.
Well, here we go after 13 cautions. We're back under green, and as they get ready to unlimber them, here's car number 44 trying to get a lap back, and with him comes car number 75 trying to get a lap back. Here comes Neil Bonnet, who they say is a lap down. He struggles into the first turn on the inside. Lake Speed is your leader in number 83, with Rusty Wallace in the 2nd spot. And around the outside, Bobby Allison trying to get a lap back from Rusty Wallace as they sort them out. A lot of pushing and shoving going on as we get this one back underway. There's your leader, 83, Lake Speed. And let's go inside of Darrell Waltrip's car, who was shown on 3rd on the start. 3rd on the board. Dave Marcus right in front of him in the 71 car as he's out of the corner. Oh, he fights it hard. Looked like he actually got hit there for a second, and he lost a spot. Petty going around him.
And he did absolutely get hit by number 3, Dale Earnhardt, who is leaning on him right now side by side.
Oh.
And this is big-time auto racing, and I think Darrell might be looking in the rearview mirror right now. And see, they have him caught on the outside. If you caught on the outside, now you watch Earnhardt work him on the outside. See him pull up, bump, gone. Now Bodine's going to try to slide under, but he may not be strong enough.
So that puts Earnhardt up into 5th. Speed in front, Wallace in 2nd, Rudd in 3rd, Richard Petty in 4th, Earnhardt in 5th. Darrell Waltrip back to 6th, Early Marlin in 7th, and Neil Bonnet in 8th, Bobby Allison in 9th.
Well, the key, the 75 car and the 44 car, the 75 car and Neil Bonnet is the real key that he got his lap back, because he's proven all day that he can win this race. And he's hoping for a caution now. Lake Speed having the best run of his life on a short track in his Oldsmobile. So we have Sterling Marlin, the number 44 car in Oldsmobile, a Pontiac 75 car, Neil Bonnet, another Oldsmobile. So all of a sudden, these bodies are working. It's not just a Chevrolet Ford show.
306 laps are complete in the last run of the old Richmond Fairgrounds. And it's got everything. Lake Speed is pulling out in front. There are those two cars that have pulled themselves back into the lead lap. Sterling Marlin of Columbia, Tennessee, and Neil Bonnet from Alabama. Then directly behind them is your leader, number 83 Lake Speed, who has a big interval to the second place man. That's car number 27, Rusty Wallace. There's the 83. And now let's take a look at the interval back to the 27 running in second place. There's Lake Speed looking for his first career win. Maybe he'll be the one that goes in the record book as the last man to win on this treacherous, difficult half-mile track.
Well, I've never seen better racing in my life. These people have raced all day like it was the last lap, and the circumstances now have the people out there don't know if they're in the lead lap, down a lap, down 2 laps. So everybody's racing as hard as they can to protect their position.
And everything is working against them. The track surface over all these years is worn out. It is such a cold day. There is no grip in the tires. And it's the typical Richmond race. If you make a mistake, you get collected by a couple of other cars. And now almost everyone in the field are wearing some battle scars. Now there's Richard Petty's number 43. That is in 5th. And here's Waltrip in the 17 trying to take the spot away from him. Petty is in 5th. Waltrip is in 6th.
Was that Waltrip not respecting royalty? I thought he hit the king in the side for a second. And we saw Lake Speed getting into the side of the 44 car. And they touched last time around, so he's trying to put the 44 car back down a lap because he wants to be the best Oldsmobile when he calls. There goes Earnhardt right down the straightaway. He and the 26 car Ricky Rudd got together hard. Earnhardt saved it. Now we're about ready to get tough. I tell you, this thing's about to break open into a street fight because now everybody's hitting each other and it's time to get mad.
Earnhardt took some damage, and he also left a crease in the fence in the straightaway on the main chute. I can't believe it. What that car sustained some damage on the left rear. See if we can spot it here. He was sideways for about 80 or 90 feet, and why he didn't get collected is beyond me. He had it sideways all the way down here, going into turn 1 and got it back.
I don't know how he saves those cars. I mean, that car was gone,
you can see
he saved it.
You can see on the back end of the car, just notice the fender on the right side, all the way down. Now notice on the left side. It's disappeared. It went to the fence.
Well,
he trimmed it.
I tell you, we went to a race and a fight broke out, or we went to a fight and a race broke out. You know,
we're getting down to that. 314 of 400 laps are complete at the Richmond Fairgrounds. Speed first, Wallace second, Rudd third, Earnhardt in 4th, they're saying. Let's check that one back. Then in 5th. In the 5th spot is Petty. 6th is Waltrip. 7th is Bonnet. 8th is Marlin. 9th is Shepard. And 10th is Allison, with 11th Bill Elliott.
And there's racing going on everywhere around this racetrack. Back for 18th place, they're getting after each other like it was for the win. So the fans are having a ball. Everybody is standing, and they've been standing for 5 hours, it seems like.
Some of them are frozen in that position. 11th spot out there is Morgan Shepard now. Elliott is back to 12th. Alan Kowicki being shown as 13th.
Here we just went 3 wide with Richard Petty in the middle, Earnhardt and Elliott on each side. I'm telling you, they are coming here.
Oh, that is Waltrip leaning on Earnhardt.
Oh, my goodness. And I thought he said Earnhardt jackknifed him in an earlier interview. Are we being
jackknifed, John? He just leaned on him a little.
I am hurt. I am hurt.
Meanwhile, Earnhardt is off the pace. I think he may have cut a tire. He's dropping back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions going into turn 1. Here's Kyle Petty closing. Something is amiss on the Richard Childress number 3.
Yeah,
last year's winner's in trouble.
I'm sure he's got a tire coming down. He's coming into the inside.
He got beaten and abused on 2 occasions here. Once in the main straightaway, and the one you just saw. And here's Earnhardt, defending champion at Richmond on pit road.
Watch Earnhardt's crew jump on this car. You're looking at the best crew in stock car racing. They have 4 All-Pros on that team, 3 over the wall. And they're going to try to get it fixed so he can get back out and try to hammer somebody.
6 seconds by, 7 seconds by. Right side rubber. Unfortunate for Dale Earnhardt. He's out in 12 seconds.
12 seconds, right? Everybody else is usually around the 15, 16-second mark. That shows you how good the people are, and they'll put him out there. And it'll be fun to watch him now.
New rubber on his car. Has he got the time? He has 320 laps complete. There are 80 laps remaining. Speed is first, Wallace second, Rudd third, Petty to fourth, Waltrip to fifth, Bonnet to sixth, Marlin to seventh, Morgan Shepherd in eighth.
Well, Lake Speed and Marlin have been getting after each other for the last 10 laps.
And that's a silly battle.
Yeah, because
that's a silly battle.
But Lake Speed is trying to put Marlin down a lap so that he can keep that advantage. But they have been touching, and what they're going to do is end up taking each other out if they're not careful. And Dave Girard with those mobiles is going to have a heart attack up in Michigan.
Well, Lake Speed has an advantage of about 2.5 seconds over Rusty Wallace's Pontiac in second, and we'll be back with more of the action from Richmond 400 in a moment.
Try to get the Hoosier guy up here.
You know who he is?
What's the Hoosier guy's name?
N-E-W-T-O-N.
Did you see Earnhardt hit bow die?
Newton.
We want 43 and 17 when we come back. That's it. 43 and 17 on the way back, Fred. That's where it is. Stay with it. Ooh, here it comes. That battle is for fourth.
Am I correct? Speed is on Hoosier tires.
That is correct.
Is it Bob Newton? Big Newton? Something Newton.
Mr. Newton.
Bob Newton.
Bob Newton.
Bob Newton, the president of Hoosier Tire. He's here.
See if you can't get it.
Got it. We're live at the Richmond Fairgrounds Speedway, Richmond, Virginia, where this old half-mile racetrack is having quite a swan song. We've got Lake Speed leading Rusty Wallace by a couple of seconds out there, and an incredible battle going on behind them. Ricky Rudd is third, but Richard Petty, giving those STP colors quite a drive, with Darrell Waltrip all over them in the race for fourth and fifth on the racetrack. Petty beaten, battered in that hard crash at Daytona, coming back strong here at Richmond. There is the battle, and inside goes Darrell Waltrip trying to take over that fourth spot. They have been swapping those positions back and forth. We watch from the in-car camera as Waltrip goes after the all-time king of stock car racing and the most successful driver on this racetrack ever, Richard Petty, with 13 victories here. Tremendous battle, Ken.
Oh, indeed it is, David. Lake Speed is on Hoosier tires, running up in front of the car number 83. There he is, and Sterling Marlin still in front of him. Marlin on the tail end of that lead lap. And the battle back here between Darrell Waltrip, who cuts down. He has a lot of power going into the corners, but Petty pulls him off the turn. Has been remarkable. 43 and 17 are having at it a little further back as we look at the standings. Here's how they're running in the latest report from Scoring with NASCAR. Here you see Richard Petty going for win 201. No other driver even close. David Pearson has 105 victories. The next Bobby Allison with 84. But look at Petty. So smooth after that brutal accident of just a week ago. Waltrip trying to nip in there and take one more spot. The action continues. Now, in sixth spot is Neil Bonnet. Seventh is Marlin. Eighth is Shepherd. And ninth is Labonte. That's about as good as it gets between those two. They're even.
I tell you, this has been some of the best racing I've ever seen because it's been aggressive. No one's staying in line and just trying. Every place on the racetrack, someone's racing for position. And you can see Darrell He is trying to eat Richard up. Richard, he cannot. He can get halfway up to him. Richard can pull him off the turns. Richard Petty's doing a heck of a job with a very sore ankle.
And, of course, this is the first race without the restrictor plates, which are only used at Talladega and Daytona. So many of the car owners and crew chiefs were saying, why don't they change the track? The trials where they have trouble at Daytona and Talladega, where the cars get loose, instead of making us make all the changes, why don't they make the changes? But that changed the length of the track and changed the configuration. That'd be a pretty tough move.
Well, plus I think it'd be a little more expensive to change a total racetrack than it would a race car. I think economics comes into play somewhere.
Here's the 43 and the 17 putting on a great show at Richmond. This is a half mile. It was a 2.5 mile track with speeds over 190 miles an hour last week, lap after lap. And we're watching this great battle. Here's the one for second place now. Rusty Wallace is about to be challenged by Ricky Rudd. Rudd pulling up in the green and white, number 26, to joust with Wallace for second place.
Well, you know, Rudd has always run this track well and short tracks well. Rusty Wallace is an excellent short track driver because that was his background coming up. And these are two aggressive young men who sure will get after each other. And I think Ricky's sitting there putting as much pressure he can, hoping he can force Rusty into a mistake.
337 laps are complete, and of course for Ricky Rudd, as we look at the leader, for Ricky Rudd, this is his home track. He's out of Chesapeake, Virginia, and he likes to carry those colors just as high as he can, and he carries the green and white livery of the Bernstein Racing Stables this afternoon, maintaining third. First to second is 4 4/10 seconds. That's the biggest lead anyone has enjoyed today. Mississippi's Lake Speed, likable guy, is out in front. Born-again Christian, hard racer, had a great finish at Daytona several years ago, up in the top 3. Has had a lot of misfortune in his racing, finally put his own team together. Question is, can he stay there with about 60 laps remaining?
Well, Lake Speed has always run well on super speedways. He's never been noted.
Spin and a crash in turn number 2. It's Dale Jarrett. That is the car of Cale Yarborough. Cale driving the super speedways, Dale driving for Haas Ellington on those days, and now today Cale stepping back, and of course Cale made his mark on this racetrack. He's won a few events on this speedway. But the number 29 gets out from beneath. Dale Jarrett, second generation driver whose dad is one of the all-time giants of motorsports and one of the truly fine analysts in the game these days.
Well, Dale Jarrett, he's trying to get that car back down so he's okay. You can see him bringing it off the bank. I think he just got up in no man's land like we've seen so many cars do there in 1 and 2.
Well, here it is, turn 1, once again, the primo spot for problems. And it happened before he got into turn. Well, it was in turn 1. Yeah, it was down the bottom, and away it went.
It's like Phil Parsons said earlier, you get a foot or 2 feet above that one line, it's like hitting grease. So there's no rubber been put down in that area, and the track's very slick.
It's just like running on dirt, as they did up till 1968. And in 1968, who won here? A gentleman named Richard Petty. Neil Bonnet's on pit road. We'll be back with more of the live action on the Superstation after these words.
What about Sterling Marlin?
Yeah, puts Marlin up too.
Great.
Neil Bonnet came in for 2 tires. 27 is in.
Earnhardt was
coming in.
He was smoking tires very badly during that run.
Petty is in. Boy, the action on the Petty crew is amazing. I mean, they think they're going to look at him. They're pumped. They're going all the way around. 4 tire change on Petty. Allen's doing great too, the 7 car.
Hello. Oh, no, I wanted to know that we have Bob Newton here. We're ready with that whenever they are.
Oh, that's great. Which we will be. Okay.
Promotional fee and consideration have been paid by Goodyear, maker of the world's most successful line of high-performance tires, the Goodyear Eagles. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. And by Mac Tools, the choice of professional mechanics and the pride of our professional distributors. Mac Tools, driven to be the best. And by Timex. You'll know how fast before they know how fast with a Timex Speed Track, speed computer, and stopwatch.
A lap to green with Lake Speed with Hoosier tires out in front. The other men behind him have pitted, checking on some rubber. It's time for equal time here today on our Superstation coverage from Richmond. Let's go to Dave Despain.
Bob Newton is the president of Hoosier Tires. Bob, this yellow flag erased a good lead, biggest lead of the race for a man on your rubber, Lake Speed. You've got to be excited about your short track debut in Winston Cup racing.
Well, we'll have to wait to see till it's over. You know, she ain't over till she's over.
It's been that kind of a day here, too. Anything can happen. Your company, we see companies come in and develop street products in racing. Your company doesn't do that. You just build racing tires. What's your motivation for getting into this series?
Well, racing is our livelihood. It's a natural step for us to move up. We move up through the All-American Challenge and then up through the Busch Grand National and now into the Winston. So it's a natural step.
Did you come here thinking you could win this race?
Well, you never think you're going to win one, like I told you. She's not over till she's over.
Well, we're close to over right now, and this man's tires are on the lead car, number 83, as they go back to green. Leading the race is Lake Speed out of Mississippi, trying to win his first Winston Cup victory, and if he does it, it'll be the first Winston Cup win for Hoosier Tires. Thank you, Bob Newton. Let's go back to Ken Squire.
Morgan Shepherd has jumped out, made up a lap here. He's now running in the lead lap as Lake Speed holds on, and the number 11 car is still being shown as a lap down, but there's a whole lot of conversation going on in the NASCAR scoring loop, John.
I think it'll be a while before they really know where everybody's. They're going 3 wide through there. Bobby Hillen hits Bobby Allison going
he really
3
hit
wide.
it quick. Bobby Hillen put the muscle right to his team car. Here he is trying to get under Bobby Allison, starting to move under Richard Petty for a moment. Davey Allison is back on pit road. He's running many laps down after an early altercation in the event. As matters stand, here you see your leader. That is Lake Speed. Then the green car, that is Ricky Rudd being shown in second. And Waltrip's number 17 is in third, and he's being passed. The 75 of Neil Bonnet is getting into this thing thick right now.
Well, Waltrip's car pushed up real bad that time. Lake Speed seems like his car's working. You can see everyone is touching. The 26 car of Ricky Rudd hits the number 11 of Terry Labonte in the side. Everybody is racing aggressive. We called it earlier. This is push and shove time. And you watch everybody's car drift up. Tires are good now. They shouldn't be sliding all over the place. This is intimidation now.
And they're cold. Those tires haven't really warmed up from this caution period. They're coming up now, so they ought to really hang on. Let's go to Mark Allen.
Larry McReynolds and routine for Ricky Rudd, watching him going into turn 1. He got caught in the classic case of what the leader did on that last pit stop. You would have liked to have come in for tires. Why didn't you?
No matter what everybody else did, we was playing our own game, and we just was going to stay out there because track position is a whole lot more important than fresh tires. If we can get by these people that's a lap down, I feel like we can, but people that's a lap down is pretty good running race cars and give us a pretty hard run for our money.
The 26 crew, they've got their fingers crossed.
Meanwhile, here on the track, there you see their car, the 26, but closing up on the leader, the 83, is the 75. Here comes Neil Bonnet, and this is a scramble for the lead in the main straightaway. Lake Speed is being challenged as Bonnet has made up his lap. He's fought his way through. He's going for first. Speed is on the outside. Let's see if he muscles him.
See, if you get on the outside and they can get under you, other people will come behind with him. See the number 11 car? See
11
the touch?
nailed him.
Everybody will try to jump under and get by. So Lake Speed's got to keep that car down on the bottom to try to keep people away. But Neil Bonnet, who's had one of the best cars all day, you see Lake Speed's car is pushing up and getting loose. So Neil Bonnet seems to be driving away from him right now.
And I think something's wrong with the Junior Johnson number 11. It made a stab there. Now it's falling back. And Petty is coming on the inside of number 43 underneath Earnhardt of the 17. And he's picking up a spot. Richard Petty charging at the finish. Goes into 4th. He drops Waltrip to 5th. Wallace is in 6th. Marlin is 7th. And there from inside of Darrell Waltrip's car, you see Richard Petty just in front of him. He made a great move there to pick up another spot, that being Richard Petty.
Well, I think these cars
a lot of cars, you change 4 tires, all of a sudden the cars don't work like they did before. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're that bad, that you may have tire stagger that is not proper to the racetrack. Jimmy Means is pulling it down into the garage area. I think he's calling it a day.
45 laps left to go in this one. Is Neil Bonnet's in front, and Lake Speed isn't giving up. He stays right there, and that is his true given name. Everybody says, you got to be kidding. A guy named Lake Speed, indeed, out of Mississippi. He did not pit. Lake Speed in the 83. Bonnet stopped, took on tires, and he's back out there, and that tire seems to be helping in his. And again, you've got another car, the 75, still on the Hoosier rubber, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And first and second is Hoosier.
And I think Lake Speed rolled the dice. He was the leader. He could have come in and gotten new tires like everybody else did, but I think he felt like maybe his tires were good enough. He didn't want to take a chance of getting some tires that were out of stagger or out of brown where they weren't proper.
Let's see if we can get interval from first back to fourth. There you see the first place car, number 75, and there's the 83. Lake Speed right there just behind it. That's first and second. Now, where is third place? It's the green car right there, number 26, Ricky Rudd. And where is the fourth car, number 43, Richard Petty? How far back would he be from this trio? There you see first, second. There's Richard Petty in those familiar blue and day-glow red colors. And behind him comes the fifth place car of Darrell Waltrip. What a sensational battle with 40 laps to go next time by.
Well, we just have a classic situation where everybody's together. There's Phil Parsons, who's not running up to speed and pulls down to let these good cars by because he doesn't want to interfere with the race. But you get a feeling of how fast everyone's going, and from the in-car camera, you can see what's happening.
We may have a battle for the lead right here. Number 26 is pulling back up. There's 75 and 83, and directly behind them, Ricky Rudd is ready to make his challenge. Here he comes on the outside of Lake Speed. If he stays out there in one, it could be Fence City for the number 26 driver, Ricky Rudd. He dives back and stays down at turn number 1 and doesn't risk it where so many have crashed and burned here today. 75, Bonnet is in first. Lake Speed is in second as we're building toward a fantastic climax on this half-mile track to wind up the career of this racing facility. We'll be back with more of the action from the Richmond Fairgrounds in the final Richmond 400 after these words on the Superstation.
Neil Bonnet's not on winner's circle. I don't know. I need to find that out.
I don't think he is. 3, 4, 5.
He is or is not on winner's circle. Something we can touch on. Neil Bonnet's not on winner's circle. It's worth, you know.
Lake Speed.
Lake Speed.
Ricky Rudd.
And Bobby Allison took one of the spots last time. This is the last spot that's available if one of these cars can get it.
What's that? I missed it, Fred.
Okay. We're talking big money winner's circle. Earnhardt's still smoking tires. It's just driving it that hard, I think.
Time winner Neil Bonnet trying to stretch it into another one and put himself back up on the winner's circle, John Hayes.
Yes, Neil Bonnet, Lake Speed, those cars are not on the winner's circle. This could be the biggest payday they've ever had because the winner's circle is worth about $280,000 a year. There's only one spot left because Bobby Allison took the other one at Daytona.
Second place, Lake Speed. Ricky Rudd would like that as well. Richard Petty lies fourth. Darren Waltrip is in fifth. Sterling Marlin is in sixth. Seventh is Wallace. Eighth is Shepard. Ninth is Bobby Allison. 10th is Terry Labonte. 11th is Bill Elliott. 12th is Alan Kowicki. 13th is Bobby Hillen. 14th is Earnhardt. And 15th is Buddy Baker with 16th Benny Parsons. 17th Jeff Bodine. And Dave Marcus is in 18th. Now, among the leaders, we still have six cars in that lead lap. Correction, 9 cars now in the lead lap. 9 cars shown in the lead lap. And this man continues to lead as we get 30 laps to go. 30 laps remaining.
Well, I think Neil Bonnet just wants the thing to stay under green because he is control. He will be in control. He will be coming up on traffic shortly. He can effectively use the traffic to try to keep Lake Speed behind him. Also, Ricky Rudd is going to have to start making his moves soon, so the 75 car Neil Bonnet is in a great position right now.
Well, Neil Bonnet has been here since 1977. His best finish was third in 1983. The question is, can he stay here and hold on and pull it off this afternoon? We'll pause for this final message and then be back to bring you the completion of the race in full, complete. That's right after these words. What are you using? Give it to David on the way back. Here's the battle for first place. Car number 83 got just a little high, and Ricky Rudd has just gone into second spot. There was a bounce going off turn number 2 that got car number 83 just a little loose. Meanwhile, Richard Petty has moved around. He has taken fourth. Darrell Waltrip is back in fifth. Sterling Marlin is sixth. Rusty Wallace is in seventh. The interval just incredible. There's Richard Petty in the 43. There are all the lead cars. As we get down to the end of it, 380 laps complete, 20 to go. It has been just a remarkable event here in Richmond, Virginia. $358,000 at stake. Next time we're with you, we'll be at the 600. Charlotte, North Carolina.
We have Mark with Dale Inman in the pits.
Dale, he's checking the car again now as he goes by, running a clock on it, watching carefully. Dale, Richard used up a lot of time getting around Terry Labonte. How much does he have left?
I don't know. There's about 18 laps to go. We run just as hard as we can.
And Bates, as you can see, busy in consultation. They want this win badly.
Richard Petty, who many of us last week as we saw him in those vicious, terrible end-over-end, side-over-side rolls, then lying there in the track and being center punched at about 100 miles an hour by Brett Bodine. I think every racing fan in America who loves this sport said an extra prayer at that moment for Richard Petty that he was going to survive it. Survive it. Heck, here he is running for the lead. Car number 43, back with the leader another time. 75 up in front.
You'll see that Ricky Rudd changed his line a little bit, went a little higher, got a better bite off the turn, and he's running Neil down. Now, he looks like his car will work higher now, and I tell you what, I wouldn't want to beat Neil Bonnet right now because Ricky did get around on the high side a while ago, and that is a hard place to pass, but he does have a car. It looks like it's working on the bottom and up above, so Neil's going to have to keep him back there.
384 laps are complete. Last time Raymont Racing won at car number 75, 1983, the Atlanta Journal 500 at Atlanta, Georgia, on that mile and a half. Here today, there's Ricky Rudd of the Kenny Bernstein car closing another time. Kenny Bernstein, who is one of the gamest and nicest people in motorsport, has put together a Winston Cup team and has just seen frustration after frustration since he began it. Maybe today it's all going to come around and he'll finish this race in victory lane. Running in second, Rudd just performing masterfully. The performer that has won on this track before, knows this track well, loves this track, performing before a hometown crowd. Ricky Rudd, the 84 winner, right there, badgering car number 75, Neil Bonnet, as we get down to decide it today.
You know, we haven't mentioned, but Neil Bonnet, his leg was severely broken, right? Richard Petty has a severely hurt bad leg. Maybe there's something to these hurt legs because these old guys are just driving the wheels off of these cars.
Well, not only was Bonnet's leg broken, but he shattered it, and he shattered his hip in that awful crash in Charlotte. And he comes out and he just limps over to the car and says, "Nah, it doesn't bother me a bit." And you just know that's Neil Bonnet, that thing does hurt. Top four cars are not on the Winner's Circle program as we get down to the end of it here today. Bonnet won the Atlanta race in '83 for Raymont. And from '84 to '86, they had Dave Marcus in the car. They've had Lake Speed, Jody Ridley, Morgan Shepherd, Jimmy Sauter. They're back with Bonnet. They're leading. Can they stay there? And here are the pictures from inside the Darrell Waltrip car momentarily. Remember that he's running in fifth. They have all driven their hearts out. This Capacity House, sold out for the last 9 days, is seeing a great finale to the grand old Richmond Fairgrounds. And there's Richard, the man who won the last dirt track race here back in 1968, giving it his very best again today. Hail the King.
Richard's just getting ready to try to pick up third place from Lake Speed. He's right on his bumper. He's been working him. He's working him to the outside, and then he tries to cut back on the inside. Here he's looking to the outside. Lake Speed knows, try to keep that car to the bottom. I have a better chance if I can keep it at the bottom.
Here
there
goes Richard. He's up on the outside of Lake Speed. Richard Petty, laps running down. 391 complete, 9 to go. Petty going for third. All right, Lake Speed just loses it for a second as he gathered it up. Richard Petty's into third.
Now watch Richard try to keep it back down. He right back down. They rubbed tires. You can see the smoke run. But Richard did get by. That scrubbed a little speed off a Lake. So Richard Petty has moved into third. And he's sitting there saying maybe Bonnet and Rudd will get together. And I have a chance to win this thing because he's back a little bit now.
It's amazing. As you get out to the end of these races, of course, they drive on what they do best. And that's pure meanness among a lot of these drivers. That's what short track racing's all about. But when Petty pulls up, it seems to be pure respect. They don't give him anything, yet at the same time, when he comes alongside, you know it's Richard Petty. Here's car number 11 right there with it. Back up front again. Here's car number 75, and the laps are running down. There are 7 to go. Neil Bonnet, so badly hurt, in such terrible pain over a couple of months, and worked harder to rehabilitate himself to come back for Daytona. And they said that when he went down to Daytona for practice, he took 5 laps. And he hurt so bad he came in and had to be taken out of the car. He said, "Oh, that's not true at all. That's just not true." but there's some that will tell you that he hurt plenty when he went out for his initial test of that car. Here's Chris Economaki.
Kenny Bernstein, the owner of Ricky Rudd's car, and he says that if it stands this way, he's filing a protest.
Car number 75 is in the wall. Number 75 is in the wall in turn number 1 for just a moment, and closing is number 26.
Morgan Shepherd blew a tire, hit Neil Bonnet, knocked him into the wall. I don't know if it did any tire damage. He still sees me. I don't see any tire smoke, but here comes Ricky Rudd after him.
And the reason Ricky Rudd did not go by is he went on the binders. He realized, here's Morgan Shepherd on pit road, all destroyed. He cut a tire. He did not do it with any intent. It just slammed into the side of Bonnet's number 75 and pushed Bonnet right to the wall in turn number 2. He survived the incident. He stays up there. Ricky Rudd is in second. Richard Petty is in third. A quick replay on that incident. Here's what happened. Up there in the corner, there you can see the 75 in the wall. He was smashed there after 97 cut a tire down. Ricky Rudd did a great job of driving. He could have been right into the back of 97 and out of it.
And Neil Bonnet is just holding his breath, hoping that he did not cut a tire or rub a tire hard enough, because he can hang on, he can win this thing.
We're showing 398 on the board. We're getting down towards the finish. Car number 75, Neil Bonnet, by his fingernails and toenails clutching to the side of this rock, which is called the Richmond Fairgrounds. White flag, 1 lap to go. It'll be worth almost $300,000 to him to get on plan 1, plus the victory here today if Neil Bonnet can hold on this last lap. Now, he is some gritty guy.
And I can assure you the first person that's going to hug his neck is Dale Earnhardt, because they are partners.
Here they come down to the line. The finish at this afternoon. The checkers are out. And Alabama's Neil Bonnet, 4th a week ago at Daytona, comes back and wins here today. Ricky Rudd has to settle for 2nd. And Richard Petty returns from one of the worst wrecks of his career just 7 days ago to a brilliant 3rd place finish on as chilly and cold and as exciting a day as we've ever had for racing in Richmond, Virginia. We'll be back with more of the story and a chance to meet the winner in a moment. Can we get it from Waltrip's car? How much time do we have on, Fred? Petty, who's right behind Ricky Rudd. See if they get pictures of Petty getting out, Fred. That's going to be the picture. Petty getting out from the ENG in 43.
Hoosier putting the neckband on.
Right.
The celebration is on in Victory Lane. Let's go to Chris Economaki.
And here we are with the winner. How tough a day was it, Neil?
Chris, we had to work for it. You know, we were up there running good early, and we wanted to stretch these tires and see what we could get out of them, and we carried them too far the first time, and we got a lap or 2 down, and this thing just kept plugging away all day, and just Valvoline Pontiac, I'm telling you, just came on back.
How's that bad leg of yours?
Well, I didn't even notice it starting to hurt. Every time I get out of the car, when I'm in there, I don't think about it.
Neil, Kenny Bernstein owns Ricky Rudd's car, says he's going to file a protest contending they won. You think there's any validity to that?
Well, I mean, you know, Kenny's a good car owner. If he wants to file it, we'll just see what happens. I don't even know what it's about, but I did my job. I'm through for the day.
The car's got a lot of dinks and dents on it. What was the toughest part of the race for you?
Well, right there at the end, Morgan Shepherd cut a tire down and got me all up in the wall, which he couldn't help it. He was on a flat, and they just about got by me right at the end.
How you feel?
Oh, I feel good.
Okay,
great.
Congratulations, Neil Bonnet. Now let's go down pit road to Mark Allen with Kenny Bernstein.
And as you said, Chris, Kenny Bernstein thinks you won the race. Where do you think the scoring error was?
Well, when the caution came out and those cars stopped under green and the caution came out and caught everybody down, we were still out there. We were in good shape. And it shows on our sheet where the 75 car actually pitted on the green before that caution came out. We're quite certain that we won the race. If we get it straightened out with the scores, I sure hope we can.
Well, they have to take it to NASCAR immediately after the race and file an official protest, and then it will be ruled upon. So controversy in Victory Lane and here on pit road.
And the story of Richard Petty, the man who made a comeback that no one will ever forget. That's the story we'll come back to after these messages on the Superstation as we report to you live from Richmond, Virginia. See, they've rolled the other car down. Now they're pushing 26 into victory lane, Fred. And Richard's down here to my left. You got Petty standing by, Fred?
We're back live at Richmond Fairgrounds Speedway. Let's take care of a bit of business down here. We are still trying to sort out who has won this race. There's a great deal of controversy. No doubt that Dale Earnhardt has the True Value Hard Charger Award over Neil Bonnet in the race for that $5,000 from True Value. Earnhardt piled up a lot of points early, then got in trouble late and faded back into the top 5. The Timex Speed Track computers go to Neil Bonnet's crew. He unofficially had the fastest lap of the race. That was early on when he was making a charge up to the lead. And this is the first victory ever for Hoosier Tires in Winston Cup competition. I'm going to give the Mac Tool $1,700 award today to Bob Newton, the head of the Hoosier Tire Company, the president of the company, their first Winston Cup short track, and they won it. Now, let's see if we can figure out who has won this race, because that controversy is continuing between Kenny Bernstein's crew, the 26 car of Ricky Rudd, and Neil Bonnet, the apparent winner. Ken, any further word on who's done what here?
Well, we just watched the NASCAR officials, Les Richter and Dick Beatty, walking across the track over into the infield. We saw them push the number 26 car down toward victory lane. Neil Bonnet is still there, and at the moment, he has the victory. We're trying to get a word with Richard Petty, as well as any update we can give you as to what has happened on this first place. For the moment, the Neil Bonnet victory is standing. Richard Petty's car number 43 has just been rolled back. It has gone up to the scales for its inspection, and in victory lane is still car number 75. Let's go back on pit road for a moment and see if we can get a word from Ricky Rudd.
Mark? Well, there is a lot of debate here in victory lane. Ricky Rudd is standing 20 feet away from Neil Bonnet. Ricky, what's your version of all this?
Well, there's no doubt about it. Our car won the race. Neil had lost 2 laps. He made 1 up. He was at the tail end of the lead lap, no question about it. You know, what's a daggum shame? I feel like they're going to get this straightened out, but our guys are cheated out of victory lane for the time being.
What can they do? How can they adjust things on short track as a wilder race as this was?
Well, I guess they're going to have to go back and look at the score and readjust the finish. Like I say, there's no doubt about it. I know there's some questions on their part, but there's no doubt about it. Neil had lost a couple laps early in the race. He got 1 back, and he's at the tail end.
Was there ever any doubt in your mind? There was certainly a lot of doubt in other people's mind, particularly NASCAR scoring, as to who was where in that final 75 laps.
There was no doubt about it. They told me I was leading the race. I looked at the scoreboard. We're on the board. You know, I had a chance to go by Neil right there at the end when Morgan Shepherd blew his tire. I said, shoot, there's no sense taking any chances. We're leading the race. Why should I do it?
2 men who think they won victory lane.
Well, down here on the start-finish line, you can see the NASCAR officials. There's Harold Kinder and I believe Les Richter, Dick Beatty are all down there. Some of the other NASCAR officials gathering together, talking about, it's Jerry Cook, I think, and they're talking about what's gone on here today as they try to sort this race out. We'll be back with...
There goes Beatty and Richter right there.
And there they are. There's Les Richter and Dick Beatty going back over to check some scoring cards. We'll be back in a moment. Fred? Okay. Is Petty on the bulldozer? Okay. We need Petty. If not, have him do a piece from the doorway. Huh?
There's Beatty and Richter on the screen here. There's Earnhardt talking to Beatty and Richter. That'd be a great shot if they'd come on with that. As he's pointing and hollering.
Is that Earnhardt?
Yeah, Earnhardt's right here pointing. There's Richard Childress. Les Richter.
When was Ricky Rudd's last win? It is the end of an era, and you're seeing it right here as they begin to scrape away at turns numbers 3 and 4. Most of the drivers wish they'd scrape away 1 and 2, and probably before the race had started today. It is the end of this half-mile facility to be replaced by better than a 3/4-mile track, which we'll see in September here on the Superstation. Well, they're still debating who won this race. Neil Bonnet is in victory lane, claiming that he has taken home the 17th career victory for the Bonnet name, and for Raymock Racing, their first win since 1983. Ricky Rudd stands just outside of victory lane, hoping that it will go his way. You heard what Kenny Bernstein had to say, that it would be his 9th Winston Cup. Richard Petty has retired to his truck. He went immediately into the truck, and I'm sure that he is totally exhausted after this tremendously hard racing program that he put on today. So that's the story. The Superstation will be with you and update you should there be a change in the results. Stay tuned to the Superstation, and we would update you on that. Final look at the standings. Neil Bonnet comes home first. That's unofficial at the moment. Ricky Rudd in second. Richard Petty in third. Darrell Waltrip fourth. And Sterling Marlin came across the line in fifth, with the 6th position belonging to Lake Speed and Rusty Wallace in the lead lap back in 7th spot. Then came 8th, Rusty, 8th across the line. When it was all over was Bobby Hillen. That's the latest we've had on that. And then the 9th man across was the car number 11 of Terry Labonte, with 10th this afternoon belonging to Dale Earnhardt, and Richard Childress is down there talking to NASCAR about that right now. So, for everyone here that brought you the broadcast today, thank you so much for being with us. For the final race in the history of the Richmond Fairgrounds half-mile facility. From Richmond, I'm Ken Squire. Congratulations today to Neil Bonnet or Ricky Wren.
The Richmond